Unlike before, this time he targeted a new prey whose cultivation was only at the 6th level of the immortal realm. The old man was extremely surprised. Ling Xiao seemed like a weakling in his eyes, yet he unleashed astonishing power, triggering extraordinary phenomena in heaven and earth, which was very rare. What made him even more alert was that beside him was an expert at the 7th level of the immortal realm, with an extraordinary aura. For the first time, he felt this prey was exceptionally troublesome and might cause him harm. Although he had encountered strong enemies before, none had made him so wary. He raised the corner of his mouth, his cold gaze firm. The hunt was about to begin. He enjoyed challenging different opponents. The more untamable the prey, the stronger its power, and the greater the benefit to himself. No one dislikes something that can bring great help even if it costs a price, so what? He deserves it. With determination in his heart, Ling Xiao instantly vanished, his aura dissipating into the darkness, his destination unknown. Even using his toes to think, he knew where his target was. At this moment, two people in the courtyard were focused on cultivation, completely unaware of the approaching danger. Ling Xiao opened his eyes and saw Ling Daoshi beside him still immersed in cultivation. Not wanting to disturb him, he got up alone and walked outside the courtyard. After days of intense training, his strength had clearly increased. If not for being trapped in a dangerous situation, he almost forgot how long it had been since he had been so focused on improving. Suddenly, the system alert sounded. Ding, unknown energy cluster rapidly approaching, speed reaching 1 billion light-years per second, approximately 30 seconds to reach the battlefield. Please prepare immediately. Ling Xiao's heart tightened. What is that? Such an astonishing speed, heading straight here, and the system avatar is issuing a warning clearly coming for him. He acted low-key. Aside from silently stealing treasures from 2 Heavens immortal realm masters earlier, he hadn't caused trouble. Even the theft was carefully planned and shouldn't have been discovered. No time to think deeply. In a flash of lightning, the decision was made. There's an 80% chance the opponent is coming for him. Ling Daoshi must not be implicated. The system countdown echoed in his mind, 25, 24, 23. As the alert frequency increased, the enemy drew closer. Without hesitation, he suddenly teleported, arriving 3 billion light-years away, shortening the distance to the enemy. The system countdown also shortened by 3 seconds. He wanted to prove, if they really came for him, meeting them early in battle could cut off their retreat and protect Ling Daoshi. If the target was Ling Daoshi, he could also strike first and block the enemy. When the countdown reached 5 seconds, a terrifying pressure that oppressed heaven and earth suddenly descended. That power was unfamiliar and strong, causing tension and awe to surge in Ling Xiao's heart. Although confident that his strength had reached an immortal level, making him nearly unbeatable, the world is unpredictable, and there are always exceptions. Perhaps he was not the only one to have broken through the limits. These existences had long transcended reason, intolerable to heaven and earth. But he himself was an exception. Since he was strong, others could be even stronger. Time passed second by second, and in the blink of an eye, the silhouette of an enemy appeared in the darkness. Ling Xiao finally saw the opponent's true face, entirely black, with skin as cold as an ice cave, emitting a suffocatingly chilling aura. The man stopped immediately upon seeing him. Ling Xiao confirmed that the other had indeed come for him. Without hesitation, the other spoke. "Hello, little one." His lips smacked as he continued to mock. "I didn't expect someone so young to be so powerful. You're destined for greatness. Unfortunately, luck is also part of strength. Meeting me means you won't have a good outcome." He arrogantly spat out harsh words, to which Ling Xiao calmly replied. "Who wins or loses is uncertain. Since you dare to challenge me and know my strength is extraordinary, be prepared to be counter-killed. No one who talks tough to me ever leaves alive." The man in black sneered, said no more, and suddenly threw a punch. Ling Xiao quickly formed a spatial barrier, and the two forces collided fiercely in midair, instantly exploding apart. This was just an initial test of strength, about 30% of their full power. Both knew in their hearts that their strength was evenly matched. The man in black was slightly shocked, not expecting the other to be so strong. This made him even more determined. He absolutely could not leave this threat alive. Just in these few years, Ling Xiao had reached this level, which was shocking. Wouldn't that mean he could soon surpass himself? His heart sank. If this time he couldn't kill him and instead made a mortal enemy, the other party would never let him off easily. Now, he was old, physically weaker than the young, and had no hope for the future. The decision was made. He struck even more fiercely. A violent energy exploded from within his body, transforming into a swift gust of wind, rushing straight toward Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao no longer defended. Every move was a full-force attack, each strike aimed at vital points, determined to end his life. He saw through the opponent's thoughts, eyes fixed on the attack trajectory, counterattacks flowing like a tide without end. After 3 clashes, both showed bloodstains on their bodies. The collision of spiritual power was intense between offense and defense, the cost was inevitable. Their eyes met, and in just 2 seconds, an even fiercer collision erupted again. Each move was like thunder, reverberating back and forth. Ling Xiao felt the heaviness and steadiness in the opponent's move skills and experience honed over 1,000 years, which he found hard to match. But he also had a unique advantage: his moves were varied, his cultivation diverse, allowing him to constantly change tactics and catch the opponent off guard. Low consumption, remarkable effect. Both had strengths and weaknesses, and the battle was deadlocked. However, what the old man did not know was that Ling Xiao had a hidden ultimate skill: mental attack. He was certain the old man had never cultivated this mysterious power. Ling Xiao sneered, as if a transparent tentacle extended from his gaze, quietly infiltrating the old man's mind. The old man was immersed in the physical offense and defense, completely unaware of the strange change in the air. Just as planned. The tentacle triggered instantly. The old man's figure suddenly stalled, as if invisible threads were entangling him, his limbs out of control. His whole body stiffened, pain unbearable, like an unhealed wound, movements sluggish. He struggled, barely holding on to clash fiercely with Ling Xiao. A trace of regret flashed in Ling Xiao's eyes. The old man's strength was astonishing even without mental cultivation. This move could only hinder, not fully control him. This exposed the inadequacy of his own mental power. But even so, this was enough. When experts clash, even the slightest mistake can decide the outcome. The stronger the resistance, the more exposed the old man's figure became. Each strike was much slower than Ling Xiao's, covered in wounds, his spiritual power weakening, barely able to defend. He gritted his teeth, knowing Ling Xiao must have used some strange technique on him, but powerless to resist, he could only endure bitterly. In an instant, the thought of escape flashed through his mind. What was a life-and-death grudge compared to fleeing for his life? But Ling Xiao gave him no chance. Ling Xiao was no pushover. How could he let him come and go at will? The opponent came to take his life. If he couldn't defeat him, would he let him escape? The Black Heaven Demon Spear was drawn. Ling Xiao launched a series of fierce thrusts, the spear's shadow flashing continuously. The old man twisted like a snake, angles strange, repeatedly dodging the spear's edge. Though slow, he was not seriously injured. Ling Xiao remained calm, neither anxious nor impatient. He did not believe the opponent could only flee, unable to counterattack or break free. How long could he hold on? The old man would eventually die before his eyes. It was only a matter of time. Sure enough, as the Black Heaven Demon Spear struck again and again, finally one thrust pierced the old man's abdomen. In an instant, the old man's whole body stiffened, his movements halted. This Black Heaven Demon Spear had reached the peak of the 17th stage. Moreover, Ling Xiao had infused it with destructive elements, making its power terrifyingly extraordinary. Once it pierced in, it was a fatal blow. The destructive elements pierced through the opponent's flesh and blood like a sharp sword, rapidly invading the entire body. Every cell, every meridian was collapsing, instantly severing his meridians. The person in front of him was far stronger than Ling Xiao had anticipated. Even with his powerful physical strength, he could only endure part of the damage caused by the destructive element. Overall, he did not suffer irreversible harm. Taking advantage of his stiffened movements, Ling Xiao stabbed into his chest again. The second stab. The third. The fourth. Each shot precisely hit his vital points, instantly piercing the heart, liver, spleen, lungs, and kidneys. The destructive element swept through his body like a raging flood beast, his breath suddenly weakening, almost perceptible to Ling Xiao. Suddenly, black mist surged forward, carrying a pungent corrosive smell, causing Ling Xiao's heart to tighten. He immediately closed his eyes and covered his mouth and nose, fearing the poisonous erosion. When the black mist dissipated, the person in front of him had vanished without a trace. Blood and scales hung on the tip of the spear, clearly indicating the opponent had activated a final desperate move to escape. Ling Xiao angrily retracted his spear, standing alone in the vast universe, a fire of rage igniting in his heart. He let him escape this time, but next time there would be no mercy. Rarely provoked over the years, his anger was now almost uncontrollable. Did those parasites living on him all think he was easy to bully? He used ice elements to melt water and wash the magic spear, wiped it clean, then threw it back behind him, preparing to return to the courtyard to focus on cultivation while investigating the opponent's identity. Such a powerful person must be famous in the martial world. Ling Xiao asked the system, "What was that black mist just now? How strong is the opponent?" The system prompted, "Ding, target's cultivation level exceeds the 3rd tier of the immortal realm, containing cold energy within the body, with unstoppable attacks." The black mist is the innate deadly poison of his race, originating from a giant venomous black python. At this level, the poison is carried with him. If the opponent hadn't evaded quickly and had deep cultivation, he would have been corroded by the poison, his body instantly decaying and dispersing. He uses this to ambush and kill countless strong opponents. Ling Xiao sneered inwardly, so it's a giant black python, no wonder his movements were slippery like a snake's. Sooner or later, I will cut you into pieces and wipe you out completely. In a flash, he returned to the residence. Ling Daoshi was still sitting calmly cultivating, completely unaware of the earth-shattering battle that had just taken place outside. Seeing his focus, Ling Xiao slowed his steps, afraid to disturb this moment of peace. He poured himself a cup of tea. The tea leaves were a rare treasure stolen from 100,000 eras ago, stored in a small world, untouched by time, still fragrant and strong. The small world was like a private space isolated from time and space, where even the river of time could not alter the flow within. Ling Xiao sat quietly savoring the tea, his wounds healed, able to enjoy this tranquility after the battle. Suddenly, Ling Daoshi furrowed his brows tightly, his spiritual power fluctuating chaotically. Ling Xiao understood that his cultivation had gone awry. A surge of spiritual power flowed out, helping him harmonize his breath, and Ling Daoshi's frown gradually eased. He opened his eyes and said gratefully, "Master, thank you for your guidance and protection." Ling Xiao waved his hand calmly, "It's nothing." The two sat quietly, the fragrance of tea lingering, the fighting spirit gradually fading, the atmosphere peaceful and profound. He poured himself a cup of tea and took a slow sip, suddenly feeling that the tea was fragrant and sweet, with a unique flavor. The tea brewed by Ling Xiao was definitely no ordinary product. He had never tasted such a distinctive aroma before, and his curiosity about Ling Xiao deepened suddenly. Ling Xiao carried too many unknown secrets, treasures he had never seen before, and even what kind of world his 680 universe was. Would there be a chance to see it with his own eyes? He also wanted to use this opportunity to glimpse the past lives of the two masters. Images of following the two masters on their journey often surfaced in his mind. That time was filled with laughter and warmth. The two masters cared for the world, gentle in nature, broad and calm like a tranquil lake. Perhaps it was Ling Xiao's steady and jade-like temperament that could nurture such an outstanding disciple. Impossible to have any trace of restlessness, only stability and peace in his eyes. Shortly after the tea entered his mouth, Ling Xiao suddenly spoke, "You should go back. Your current realm is enough for you to cultivate independently. You don't need me to watch over you all the time. I have already checked the nearby environment. It's no longer as dangerous as before. You also have a certain status here, and there are people protecting you. I feel at ease. Go back first." Ling Xiao's words were straightforward, without any excess. Ling Daoshi felt reluctant in his heart but found it hard to argue, so he could only respond quietly, "Alright, I'll go back now." In fact, Ling Xiao was thinking about his safety. If one person was targeting him, naturally others would be watching too. One or two could still be defended against, but more would make it difficult to protect him comprehensively. If something happened, how could Ling Xiao face his two former disciples? He didn't say more, fearing that if he explained clearly, Ling Daoshi might refuse to leave and insist on staying. Taking advantage of the moment, Ling Xiao asked, "In your time and space, are there many beast clans cultivating? I haven't seen any here. Do you have powerful beast clans there?" Ling Daoshi frowned tightly. "There is a notorious arrogant Taoist named Zhang Kuang. He has lived for a very long time. No one knows how long his lifespan is. Whenever his life is about to end, he hunts top experts to extend his life, which is terrifying. He hasn't appeared for many years, but rumors say he will appear again soon. Every time he appears, it's always bloody and violent." His tone was cautious, his eyes drifting as if recalling that huge black python. That was the strongest beast clan nearby. Ling Daoshi had once been targeted by it, but fortunately, his strength was insufficient at the time to attract its interest, so he narrowly escaped. Now his strength had greatly increased, but with Ling Xiao's protection, the black python turned its attention to others, and the danger was temporarily avoided. Ling Xiao calculated in his heart that the black python would appear sooner or later. Its lifespan was about to end, and it would have to strike no matter what. It would first choose the weak to relieve its urgent situation, making it easier to deal with. After Ling Daoshi finished speaking, he left the courtyard, leaving only Ling Xiao alone. He opened the attribute interface. Name, Ling Xiao. Training Sessions 1516. Martial Dao Realm, Immortal Realm, 7th Heaven. Soul Realm, Immortal Realm, 10th Heaven with Dao Rhyme Blessing. Vitality, 6 octillion 1 point equals 3 quintillion kilograms of force. Soul, 5 octillion. Secondary Profession, Grandmaster 10 types, 17th rank, medium grade, 05 quadrillion, legendary level.
Skill, Weapon Master Triple Dao Principles, 15x bonus, 010 quadrillion. Laws, 3000 extreme domain with 480 types.
Talent, Undying Divine Body Immortal Level, Combat Power increased by 5000%.
Emperor's Body Heavenly Dao Level.
Blessing Power surged to 10 quintillion times. Void Dragon Body, Immortal Level, Physical Strength soared 2048 times, carrying the power of creation 17th rank, Supreme Grade, encompassing 2999 mysterious powers.
Cultivation Method.
Will of the Gods Heavenly Dao Level, 17th rank Fragmented Realm, power increased by 50,000 times. Demon God Nirvana, Frenzied Absorption, Law of Heaven and Earth 17th rank upper and lower grades, multipliers ranging from 200 to 1000, covering comprehensive offense and defense. Creation Divine Scripture, Consciousness Fission, Introduction to Mental Cultivation Manual and other multiple 17th rank lower grade techniques, enhancing mental power by thousands of times.
Martial Techniques.
Death Gun Technique 17th rank medium grade, power increased 400 times. World-ending light, teleportation, heaven-shaking true spring and other moves combined with demon chi and demon martial analysis, making combat rhythm as fast as lightning. Soul Dance, Dark Palm, Picking Chrysanthemums by the Eastern Fence, Prajnaparamita Sutra and various other techniques, leaving enemies nowhere to hide.
Equipment.
Both the Black Heaven Battle Armor and the Black Heaven Demon Spear have reached the mid-level 17th rank, while the Angel Wings are light and resilient. The hidden strength of the Black Star Stone King is unfathomable, with a level far surpassing the 17th rank. Treasures such as the Demon Subduing Wave, Soul Summoning Sail, Ying Tian Ling, and Vidra Bracelet are all in place, providing flawless combat support. Meat Floss Dien and Echo Ring unleash astonishing power at critical moments, simulating the oppressive aura of high-level cultivators to intimidate enemies.
Power Hierarchy.
Physical combat power reaches the second level of the Super Decay realm, with ultimate combat power climbing to the third level of the Super Immortal realm.
Ling Shao's gaze is cold and stern though his strength is fierce, he remains unsatisfied.
Every step of improvement is extremely difficult, especially in the Immortal realm, where such accumulation is almost unimaginable.
But he knows that mere accumulation is not enough, he must seize the decisive opportunity that determines fate.
He holds himself to the highest standards, with goals far beyond ordinary beings, vowing to transcend heaven and earth and make the world bow in submission.
He aims to break limits and create an ultra-fast cultivation method.
Currently, cultivation systems are singular, either focusing on refining the body or concentrating on the soul, making it difficult to balance both.
Ling Shao seeks a breakthrough, intending to fuse multiple spiritual power systems to forge an invincible and powerful force.
He wants his opponents to retreat at the slightest touch, filled with 3 parts reverence. His heart burns like a blazing flame as he begins attempting to merge diverse powers. But this path is extraordinarily difficult, requiring ultimate mastery of various techniques to find perfect balance. If any aspect is too strong or too weak, it will break the continuity of cultivation. Spiritual techniques have become the biggest shortcoming. He has only mastered the tip of the iceberg, not to mention fusion with other spiritual powers. The immediate priority remains to enhance heart strength and solidify the foundation. Adjusting his mindset, Ling Shao quickly set up a tight spatial barrier. He activated the protective shield he had used before in the long river of time, blending time elements and space elements in proportion to form an indestructible defense.
He hadn't used it before, fearing it would affect his cultivation progress.
Now, with frequent unexpected incidents, he understood it was necessary.
Otherwise, exposing his strength easily would attract powerful enemies one after another, disturbing his cultivation.
He calmed his mind and spent a great deal of time stabilizing the barrier.
Inside and outside the entire courtyard, he laid down an invisible shield.
This shield had been improved to become transparent and trace-free. Outsiders could not detect any abnormalities, while inside the courtyard he could monitor external movements at any time, with information flowing freely. Only after confirming everything was in order did he sit down with peace of mind and begin cultivating. Beside him, the little spirit floated out from the small world, carrying a thick stack of books on its back. Transporting these books was clearly a physical task for it. Panting heavily, it occasionally dropped a few, but still managed to move all the books out, gasping for breath. It excitedly said to Ling Shao, "Master, these books are what I've organized recently, with key points and difficulties clearly marked.
It will be much more convenient for you to use."
Then it picked out a few and pointed, "These few are most helpful for your current realm." Pointing to another, it added, "This one has the strongest practical combat effect. All are top-level techniques." Then, somewhat hesitantly, it said, "These are all good, you can choose the ones that suit you best to cultivate first." Ling Shao patted its head and smiled, "All right, thank you for your hard work.
Go rest now." The little spirit smiled in response, not hard at all. I'm happy to help you.
Ling Xiao placed the secret manuals aside but did not rush to cultivate. What he needed most at this moment was to improve his raw strength. No matter how splendid the techniques were, without solid raw strength, they could never be fully realized.
He was always pragmatic, solving problems directly and never swayed by preferences.
He began cultivating according to plan, his spirit and spiritual power surging into his body like a tide. Massive whirlpools continuously appeared around him, wildly drawing in the surrounding spiritual energy, spinning, tearing apart, decomposing, and merging. One link after another, the steps were meticulous.
The system prompt sounded repeatedly. Ding.
1 minute of cultivation, physical blood power increased by 15,678.4 trillion quadrillions, currently merging with spiritual energy.
Ding. The fusion of blood power and spiritual energy is complete.
The prompt sounded again and again, and Ling Xiao's strength rapidly soared. If Ling Daoshi were here now, he would definitely feel the drastic change in Ling Xiao's aura. In the past, Ling Daoshi had not cultivated spiritual energy techniques and only felt Ling Xiao's aura was strange, as if it could disturb the soul. Now, he understood that this was merely Ling Xiao's profound spiritual realm, causing others' souls to instinctively tremble. This was the fear and instinctive avoidance brought by the strong, which no one could resist.
Unless one became stronger, the only option was to stay away and seek safety.
In the eyes of outsiders, Ling Xiao was surrounded by immortal mist, as if he were in a fairyland, transcendent and ethereal. No one knew that Ling Xiao's inner world was the true fairyland. In the whiteness, clouds and mist drifted, mountains, waters, and fish paths, like a long ink painting scroll. There was not a single trace of human habitation here, as if mortals could hardly set foot in this place. A chill ran through his heart, confused about why he had suddenly arrived here. His vigilance rose.
Did this beautiful world hide a crisis?
He recalled the trap that resembled a void space he had encountered before and cautiously stood still. That place, his gaze swept all around, finding nothing unusual. With a hint of boldness, he tentatively took a step, slowly moving deeper, wanting to uncover what secret was hidden here.
The first step landed, but a strange sensation came from beneath his feet, as if stepping on soft clouds, not solid ground. Yet he stood firm and took a second step.
An inexplicable curiosity surged in his heart. This scene seemed familiar, as if seen in images before his crossing. In this future where technology has rapidly advanced, people value spiritual and sensory experiences more. The virtual world is mostly holographic networks, and few pay attention to this ancient ink painting style. Artistic pursuits have gradually faded, perhaps due to the changing times or regional differences. Here, it was completely different from the world he was in. He quickened his pace toward the lakeside. A red-crowned crane glanced at him briefly, then continued leisurely, lowering its head to drink and catch fish. Colorful koi swam and frolicked in the lake, lively and bustling. Every corner here was filled with tranquility and harmony, showing no signs of danger. But Ling Xiao remained vigilant. The more beautiful the place, the more it hides deadly traps. He pondered, how did he enter this place? Were there others here? Everything was a mystery. Staring at the lake water, his spiritual awareness swept over it, detecting no abnormal fluctuations. Only a few koi glanced at him slyly, full of provocation. He reached out and touched the lake water, cold and clear. The flow soothed his nerves, reaching straight to his brain. In an instant, his body and mind relaxed, as if surrounded by soft water ripples. An impulse surged in his heart, wanting to leap into the water to savor this nourishment, but he restrained himself. This place truly seemed like a paradise, without the slightest anomaly. His heart eased slightly as he looked around. The spiritual power and pure spiritual energy were extraordinarily dense, like a fairyland. He took a gentle breath. The spiritual energy was intoxicating like oxygen, moistening his eyes, marveling that such a miraculous place existed in the world. This immortal realm's blessed land is rich in spiritual power, making him almost forget the potential risks, only wanting to start cultivating immediately and cherish every second. His mind was resolute, and his actions swift. After leaving a trace of spiritual awareness to set up barriers, he began absorbing the surrounding spiritual energy. The nearly mist-like spiritual power was swallowed by the vortex of spiritual power within his body, quickly infusing throughout. The spiritual energy flowed in like water, making his soul exceptionally clear, and the pleasure of cultivation was unprecedented. Here, even mortals could easily break through to the immortal realm. During cultivation, the animals around him, which had originally ignored him, were suddenly attracted. Red-crowned cranes, koi fish, flying birds, even insects on the leaves, all mechanically approached. Their expressions were dull, their steps stiff. The red-crowned cranes strode with long legs, the koi leapt out of the water, snails and turtles crawled slowly, all approaching him. But they were all blocked by the barriers around him, unable to get close, only staring fixedly at him. Ling Xiao sensed the anomaly and reacted instantly but did not open his eyes to look at them. Although strange, they could not harm him. These small probes did not interfere with his cultivation. He remained unwavering and continued absorbing spiritual energy. In the air, spiritual power surged into his body like a tide, overwhelming and shocking even himself. This place was truly as mysterious and powerful as the immortal realm. If it weren't for these animals being too strange, Ling Xiao almost wanted to live here forever. Outside, the animals moved again. Their previously dull eyes now flickered with a trace of mad fury, carrying instinctive killing intent, wildly rushing at him. They had no spiritual power attacks, only the most primitive physical strikes. The red-crowned cranes pecked fiercely with sharp beaks, small fish slapped with their tails, even small insects bit at his spatial barrier with sharp mouths. Ling Xiao originally intended to ignore them and let them act wildly, but he did not expect these seemingly crude attacks to be extraordinarily powerful. Several pecks from the red-crowned cranes actually dented his indestructible time and space-mixed barrier again and again. Even the teeth of small animals could leave deep bite marks on the barrier. Ling Xiao was shocked in his heart. Even this layer of protection he set up could be easily damaged. If it were someone else, they probably wouldn't even have a chance to resist and would be broken through instantly. The attacks aimed at him were doomed to fail. What Ling Xiao lacked least was defensive means. His defensive shield was easily set up, mostly composed of elements, consuming little and not affecting his strength. Build as many as you want, make them as thick as you want, let these beasts tear at them. Even if the barrier is broken, his flesh is incredibly tough, far beyond what they can shake. They come, and it doesn't matter at all. Thus, the scene freezes. Ling Xiao sits in the center, layers of transparent protective shields stacked one upon another, with a vortex of spiritual power swirling endlessly beside him. Countless spiritual energies pour in. Outside the shield are various animals from land, water, and air, circling round and round, attacking his protection from all angles, 360 degrees without blind spots. During the attacks, some animals collapse from excessive exhaustion, yet even at the brink of death, they do not stop their frenzied assault. But Ling Xiao remains unmoved, as if the outside world is only a gentle breeze and bright moon. He sits cross-legged in the center, crazily absorbing the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. He only hopes that this cultivation session will allow his strength to leap to the peak, not wasting this journey. Though he does not know where this place is, he understands it is not somewhere ordinary people can easily enter, and perhaps there will be no second chance. He will absorb as much as he can, even take these strange animals for his own use. His strength will surely increase greatly. Ling Xiao is bold and meticulous, secretly calculating. The deeper he cultivates, the more addicted he becomes, even his consciousness gradually blurs. The vortex of spiritual power beside him keeps expanding, and more animals die. Gradually, he becomes a machine that only knows cultivation. After an unknown amount of time, he finally opens his eyes again. Before him appear Ling Daoshi and the little spirit, both looking anxious, as if they had experienced a terrifying ordeal. Seeing him awake, their brows slightly relax. Ling Daoshi is calm, but the little spirit rushes forward eagerly. "Young master, you're finally awake. Do you know how many days you were unconscious? During this time, no matter how much we called, you wouldn't wake up. If it weren't for your body being fine and your spiritual power still surging wildly, we would have been really worried." Ling Xiao sat up, rubbed his head, feeling some soreness and fatigue in his body. This was not exhaustion, but a reaction caused by his abilities rapidly expanding, making his body hard to bear. He looked up and asked Ling Daoshi, "Why did you come?" He remembered setting up heavy barriers without permission. Ling Daoshi would find it difficult to break through. The little spirit replied, "Master, that day when you were cultivating, something abnormal suddenly happened. Your spiritual power surged in a way that was completely illogical. The surrounding energy available for absorption was far less than what you released inside your body. Moreover, the portion of spiritual power you absorbed yourself. I originally thought, Master, that you must have experienced some extraordinary event to trigger such a rapid cultivation," the little spirit said excitedly. "Unexpectedly, things later became strange. At first, you were just cultivating quickly, but once your speed reached its limit, you began to behave abnormally, suddenly standing up and rushing outside. As you walked, you even crazily attacked the nearby households. I was helpless and had to use part of your spiritual power to summon Ling Daoshi for help. You destroyed countless residences along the way and provoked numerous enemies. Those people saw you go mad and tried to fight back, but all were injured by you. If it weren't for Ling Daoshi, as the leader, calming the chaos in time, we would definitely have fallen into even greater trouble. Ling Xiao rubbed his temples as a flood of complex information from the outside world surged into his mind. The more he recalled, the more blurred his memories became. He vaguely remembered that because he absorbed too much spiritual energy, it was like blacking out from drinking. He completely forgot what happened afterward. Perhaps it wasn't just excessive absorption of spiritual energy, but in that realm, some kind of strange beast broke through his protective shield without him noticing, which caused these crazy behaviors.
It seemed he must be more cautious in the future.
The attacks were not only overt but also involved secret methods of using massive spiritual energy to destroy one's sanity, an approach he had never anticipated. Fortunately, he had pulled through. Although he caused considerable damage outside, his foundation was unharmed, and his strength had actually increased significantly. The gains clearly outweighed the losses. He looked up and said to the little spirit and Ling Daoshi, "Thank you both. If it weren't for you, I really don't know what would have happened." The little spirit, upon hearing this, was so proud it almost flew up. "Of course. My master always praises me for being smart, completely different from those dumb spirit pets." Ling Daoshi, standing nearby, wore a serious expression and did not speak. Seeing this, Ling Xiao quickly sent the little spirit away, leaving just the two of them to talk privately. Ling Daoshi said in a deep voice, "Master, be straightforward.
What exactly did you experience during this cultivation? I sensed something abnormal."
Even without mentioning your later actions, just the intensity of the spiritual power leaking from you was very unusual. The spiritual energy around you was clearly not abundant, yet your power was extraordinarily strong. The problem might lie there. Seeing his keen insight, Ling Xiao felt a surge of trust and candidly recounted his experiences in the illusion, those strange beasts, the frenzied attacks, and the loss of control.
After listening, Ling Daoshi frowned deeply. "This is definitely wrong. Everything you went through is problematic. That illusion sounds extremely abnormal. How could such a place exist?"
His words made Ling Xiao alert as well. Although he had encountered illusions before filled with danger and opportunity, none had been as tempting and confusing as this one. The final loss of control, though it did not harm his foundation, was highly suspicious. Ling Daoshi asked, "Have there been any unusual events recently that might be related to this?" Ling Xiao thought carefully. Aside from being parasitized himself, there seemed to be no other connection. He had not told Ling Daoshi before, but at this moment, his mind suddenly cleared. He recalled, he only entered the illusion it was impossible to generate spiritual power out of thin air. This abnormal spiritual power must have a source. It could only be the person who once parasitized his body. For some reason, his abilities were taken, existing within his body, and at the same time brought consciousness interference, causing loss of control. Upon careful reflection, those uncontrollable movements were very similar to the experiences of being controlled, escaping, and training while he was asleep. The more he thought, the clearer it became that a deeper secret was hidden behind this. Beside him, Ling Daoshi finally couldn't hold back, frowning and looking up to question, "Master, is it real or fake? Are you hiding something from me?" His tone was urgent, his eyes burning. Then he took a deep breath, his voice firm. "I know there are many things you haven't told me. Maybe I can't help, but as long as you speak, I will do my best and bear any cost." He had said this countless times, and Ling Xiao had heard it countless times, but still did not speak. This matter was beyond Ling Daoshi's strength. Dragging him in would only cause trouble for him. Ling Daoshi stared at him, his gaze penetrating, yet remained silent. In the silence, Ling Xiao broke it first. "Don't worry, I have the ability to handle it. I didn't tell you not because I don't trust you, but because I don't want to burden you. If handled poorly, the trouble will fall on you." Just as he finished speaking, a chirping little spirit flew out, urgently shouting, "Master, something's wrong outside. Go check it out quickly." The two rushed out, and the door was already blocked by a crowd, packed tightly. It turned out that when Ling Xiao fainted earlier, those who had been defeated were inside it, and now all gathered at the door. Their faces dark and trouble had arrived. Especially Ling Daoshi, who knew well that someone was stirring up trouble behind the scenes. But given the situation, someone had to step forward to resolve it. Just as Ling Daoshi was about to move forward, those people suddenly knelt down in unison, their voices in unison. "This is the first time we've seen someone so powerful. We were once arrogant and complacent, not realizing our own weakness. We beg you to accept us as disciples, teach us martial arts. We are willing to go through fire and water for you, swearing loyalty unto death." This sudden reversal left the three dumbfounded. What they had thought was trouble turned into another kind of trouble. Ling Xiao was never fond of taking disciples with so many people. It was simply unrealistic to instruct them all.
Those outside had red eyes, resolute as iron. If you don't agree, we will wait here to die. Ling Xiao was helpless, thinking, with his usual temper, he would have kicked them out long ago. But these people were Ling Daoxi's subjects, also considered descendants of his disciples, so he couldn't just ignore them. They took turns offering treasures. Ling Xiao glanced around. The worst were all peak 16th rank, and the highest included several 17th rank weapons. These rare treasures showed their sincerity. These people before him were formidable, all immortal realm experts, unusually united in purpose. Ling Xiao frowned, his tone cold. Take back your treasures, don't wait any longer. I will not accept disciples. Someone shouted, we will prove our determination with action. Ling Xiao ignored it, counted on his fingers, closed the door, and went inside to cultivate, letting the outside noise surge like a tide. Ling Xiao and Ling Daoxi sat steadily in the inner room, but the little spirit was restless. It had been trapped in the small world for a long time and had never seen so many people, so it flew out to take a peek. Unable to find the two masters outside, it turned to bully the little spirit. The little spirit was naive and was dazzled by sweet words and sugar-coated bullets. It excitedly flew back to Ling Xiao. They brought countless treasures asking you to accept disciples. The little spirit was still not fully clear-headed, but Ling Xiao was very clear-headed. He flicked the little spirit's head hard and coldly ordered, go back to your small world, don't run around. It's dangerous outside. Those people are ruthless, don't trust them easily. He thought to himself that he must find a chance to let the little spirit see the truth outside. Let it see the outside world, let it understand the treacherous human heart, and let this cold and cruel society teach it a lesson. The little spirit was a bit unwilling when it heard Ling Xiao telling it to return to that closed world, but it still obediently listened. After all, it was afraid Ling Xiao would abandon it if he got angry. These days, the people outside refused to leave. Ling Xiao didn't want to use force to drive them away directly because these people had some connection with Ling Daoxi. Forcibly expelling them would be like disrespecting Ling Daoxi and embarrassing him. But these people blocking the door all day really affected cultivation. Ling Xiao didn't like going out, but who allowed them to loiter at his door? Did they think that by pestering him endlessly, they could eventually open his door and establish a sect? How shameless! Ling Xiao simply summoned the system and sneered, didn't you say that people in the immortal realm act independently and hate gathering in groups? How come they are all gathered at my door? The system replied, data shows they usually act alone, but when their goals align, they inevitably support each other. Ling Xiao's spiritual sense quietly drifted out to observe those people outside. He saw them sitting one by one in front of his door, facing the main gate, meditating with closed eyes. A few who hadn't closed their eyes were arguing over territory. The man in green said coldly, go away. This is my territory. The man in blue objected, I came first, this is mine. The two argued fiercely back and forth. Ling Xiao felt inexplicably puzzled. The spiritual power density was only slightly different left and right, not much difference, why fight so fiercely? Looking closely at the formation, he suddenly understood. The higher the cultivation, the closer they sat to the gate. The right side was closer than the left. They were fighting for the front row. Ling Xiao was speechless. Most of these people's cultivation was above the 5th level of the immortal realm, the top combat power here. At this moment, they were stationed in front of the door, as if ready to break through his city at any time. Ling Xiao was helpless and decided to move. Since they were not leaving, he had no reason to linger. Moreover, with these people guarding, there were quite a few empty houses nearby, and more than one or two had good conditions. Their biggest blind spot was that they thought although Ling Xiao was strong, their strength was comparable, and they could catch up to him if he tried to escape. They didn't know that Ling Xiao possessed the super skill of teleportation. In the blink of an eye, Ling Xiao had quietly disappeared from the courtyard. The next second, he appeared in another mansion. This place was extraordinary. Both the size and the furnishings were exquisite, clearly showing that the owner was extremely particular about enjoying life. Perhaps not the strongest, but definitely among those living the most comfortable lives. Such a luxurious house was unoccupied, which was just a bargain for Ling Xiao. He carefully examined the room, getting to know the layout of the entire courtyard, and chose his favorite room to enter. The furniture was complete, the decorations delicate, fully displaying the owner's taste. Ling Xiao's lips curled slightly as he admired these people's determination to regard him as their master. These people valued life's pleasures so much that they were willing to stay at the doorstep for days without returning home, showing their extreme dedication to cultivation. Ling Xiao had once thought that those who could reach the immortal realm must be indifferent to fame and fortune, but he hadn't expected that enjoying life and enduring hardship were actually two different things.
After confirming that all the facilities were complete, Ling Xiao closed his eyes to regulate his breath, carefully sensing the concentration of spiritual energy and the richness of elements around him. The environment was excellent. The more he looked, the more satisfied he became, thinking that if he ever built a house, he would definitely ask this owner to help design the layout. Suddenly, his scattered divine sense caught a trace of something unusual. A huge light source appeared in his spiritual sense, but he couldn't see its internal form clearly. It seemed to be something special. Ling Xiao's interest was piqued. In his view, having such a dazzling illusion to blind the eyes was no ordinary thing. It had to be an extremely advanced weapon. This kind of camouflage came from only two sources. One was that the treasure itself carried it, proving it was extraordinary. The other was that the owner deliberately designed it, hiding secrets. Both indicated the treasure's high-level status. Without hesitation, he reached out, ready to investigate carefully. For him, this kind of reconnaissance was already second nature and posed no pressure. What lay before him seemed ordinary, nothing unusual. A small, delicate incense burner. His divine sense probed, and he found that what kept flashing in his mind was exactly this. Looking closely at the incense burner, 3 sticks of incense were inserted, burning with smoke curling upward. The incense sticks were only about 3 fingers long, seemingly about to burn out soon. He lightly waved his hand, and a small breeze swept in, accelerating the incense's burning. The smoke grew thicker and thicker, yet the length of the incense stick did not diminish in the slightest. Ling Xiao's body had reached the 3rd level of the transcendent immortal realm, allowing him to perceive any changes. Even when he increased the wind force, the incense fire did not extinguish. Instead, it burned more vigorously, with thick white smoke like fog, yet the incense stick showed no sign of shortening. This incense was definitely not ordinary. Ling Xiao's brows slightly furrowed, a suspicion arising in his heart. He shifted his gaze to observe the incense burner itself. The incense burner appeared rustic, with rough patterns, clashing with the luxurious surroundings, looking old and mysterious. This worn-out object was placed conspicuously in the center, which was highly unusual. Perhaps the abnormality of the incense was meant to conceal the secret of the incense burner itself. Ling Xiao did not act rashly. He first used spiritual power and elemental aura to probe, but found no abnormalities. Helpless, he decided to take out the items inside the incense burner for further investigation. His hand slowly reached toward the 3 incense sticks, grasped one, and gently pulled it out, alert to any changes around him. The incense kept being pulled out, yet no end appeared. Its length exceeded the capacity of the incense burner, as if extending endlessly. Excitement flashed in Ling Xiao's eyes as he sped up the pulling. Finally, a large portion of the incense stick was pulled out. He quickly pulled out the 2nd and 3rd sticks as well, confirming that all could extend and replicate infinitely. This incense burner was not an ordinary one at all, but a treasure basin capable of infinitely replicating objects placed inside it. Ling Xiao's heart surged with excitement as he immediately summoned the system for detection. The system quickly responded, "Ding, target item incense burner, function is infinite replication of items placed inside. Usage consumes spiritual power. The higher the item's grade, the greater the consumption." He pondered. He had not infused any spiritual power himself, yet the incense was replicated. What did this mean? Perhaps the incense burner had been infused with spiritual power by its owner, like charging a battery, allowing it to continuously replicate inconspicuous small items. Ling Xiao's lips curled slightly. If such a treasure truly existed, the owner would never place it openly in the courtyard without concealment. There must be a hidden mechanism. His eyes were sharp, already sensing the prelude to a storm. Here. This person was truly bold, actually believing that the most dangerous place is the safest, completely unafraid of trouble, even if encountering someone like Ling Xiao. A cold smile curled at the corner of Ling Xiao's mouth as he tucked the treasure into his waist pouch, thinking, if this person were any more careless, wouldn't that be even better? Thinking this, he moved even faster. He began searching everywhere, his eyes sharp like a hawk's. Since this person had such a personality, there must be more than one treasure at home. Good items were displayed here. Other slightly inferior treasures were probably piled up like a mountain. Sure enough, after rummaging around, he found many precious items. That ordinary chair could actually gather spiritual energy. The pillow was a treasure that nurtured the soul. In just a short moment, Ling Xiao returned fully loaded, his smile almost splitting to his ears. After searching around, he suddenly changed his mind. There were many treasures here, but it was not suitable for long-term residence. Who knew when the owner would return? Once they came back and found the treasures emptied, they would definitely fight desperately. Ling Xiao had survived until now by relying on strength, but even more on caution. Don't seek death, and you can live longer. He firmly remembered this saying. As he prepared to leave, he noticed something unusual. He had been staring inside the house, not paying attention to the outside. Only now did he realize the huge difference between the walls and the architectural style. The building inside was novel, seemingly newly built, yet carried an ancient style.
He had seen many residence buildings, but none like this.
Originally thinking the owner favored retro style, he turned to look at the corner of the wall, only to see the wall was old and mottled, with clear marks of wind and rain erosion. This wall had obviously existed for many years. And this house should have been as dilapidated as the wall, but it was maintained by some kind of force to preserve its former glory. Only this corner was not protected, bearing the brunt of the ravages of time. The fact that no one has repaired such damage indicates that no one has lived here for a long time. Uninhabited places are surprisingly clean and dust-free. The furniture is neat, and the plants in the courtyard grow just right, without a trace of disorder. Another guess flashed through Ling Xiao's mind. Perhaps a time array was set up here, guarding this space and preserving its original state. But no one here has ever used a time array. Controlling time elements here is extremely difficult, or the technique has been lost. Reason told him this was definitely not a trap set by the person who wanted to take him as a disciple, but rather a place that had been vacant all along, and he had merely stumbled upon it. This made the house even more mysterious. Where did the owner go?
The treasures are abundant, yet no one has appeared for years? This place is far more complicated than he imagined.
He suspected there must be a special reason why he was able to enter.
Did the owner deliberately invite him? Or is the barrier here ineffective against him?
Either way, it was so strange as to be unbelievable. But at this moment, he was not in a hurry to leave. Since the owner allowed him to enter, let him take the treasures, and did not stop him when he left, it meant they were not opposed. Being treated kindly by someone, he didn't mind staying to enjoy this peace. Taking advantage of someone else's past efforts to avoid the troubles he wanted to escape was a huge gain. Since no one had disturbed this place for years, nor discovered its secrets, it would remain safe in the future. This would be his ideal place to cultivate. Ling Xiao put down the bag he had just packed and turned back to the room he had chosen. He sat down, ready to cultivate, but suddenly sensed something unusual. Closing his eyes to feel carefully, the spiritual energy had become unusually thin.
When he first arrived, the spiritual power here was abundant. Whether mental power, magical power, or elemental power, all were extremely plentiful.
Now it was like a waterfall block. The source suddenly dried up.
This was definitely not a good sign.
Ling Xiao rubbed his temples, alert in his heart. He could not afford to be careless at any step. Every minute and second required mental effort to analyze. He investigated the cause step by step, convinced that the change originated from a key point he had just touched.
At first, everything here was normal, until he began to explore, and then the anomaly appeared.
It must be that he touched some hidden existence, a crucial point for gathering spiritual energy. He first suspected the chair, but quickly dismissed the idea. The chair's range of effect was too small. It only influenced when sat upon, and although powerful, its influence was limited. This sudden drop in spiritual energy affected the entire courtyard, so it must be something with a wide range and strong effect. His gaze locked onto the incense burner he had just handled. Picking up the incense burner, he found no direct signs of spiritual power being released. He lit the incense, and the spiritual energy gradually recovered. Fortunately, he hadn't discarded the incense. After careful observation, he found that the incense smoke itself had no spiritual or magical fluctuations. Otherwise, he would never have acted rashly. This incense was probably not meant to directly release power, but served as a catalyst for gathering spiritual energy. It attracted the spiritual energy from heaven and earth to converge, which was more powerful than directly releasing energy. Ling Xiao's heart jolted, as if he had found a treasure. If it were just releasing spiritual power, this thing would consume a huge amount and be unsustainable. But if it was merely a medium to attract spiritual energy, combined with the incense burner's replication function, it would be an invincible artifact on the path of cultivation. With it, cultivation speed would soar, and no one could catch up to him. This was not boastful talk, but an ironclad fact. Although the principle was hard to understand, the world was full of mysteries. He didn't need to uncover the truth, only to make good use of the powerful tool in his hands. The simplest way to test the hypothesis was to try it himself. He took out the incense burner again. The remaining incense ash inside had not been cleaned, perfect for inserting incense sticks. One of the incense sticks had grown very long. After lighting it and letting it burn down a bit, he inserted it into the burner. The other two sticks were short and could be inserted directly. All three incense sticks were lit simultaneously, and the surrounding spiritual energy instantly filled the air. Ling Xiao's heart leapt with joy. His guess was correct. Closing his eyes, he took a deep breath of the rising smoke, expecting the spiritual energy to hit his nose.
Unexpectedly, the smoke choked him, causing him to cough twice.
The incense burner in his hand instantly lost its mystique, and he casually tossed it aside. Suddenly, he understood why that person didn't carry it around but placed it in the center. For this incense burner to work, the smoke must spread out. The range of smoke diffusion is hard to control, inevitably unable to be confined to just one person. Others and animals can easily detect it, which is very likely to attract danger. The principle of possessing a jade invites trouble applies everywhere. But Ling Xiao was not afraid. He possessed the power to imprison space, and with a high-level formation array, it was easy to confine a wisp of smoke and spiritual energy. Still, the actual operation was difficult. How to make the smoke attract the surrounding spiritual energy, demonic energy, and elemental power to surge in? If the smoke really had a pulling force, how could the spatial barrier it set up still allow these forces to penetrate? Ling Xiao easily thought of these questions, but he was not in a hurry. Faced with difficulties, he always believed there were more solutions than problems. As long as the goal was clear, nothing was impossible. He put the incense burner back in place, hesitated for a moment, then picked it up again and, as when selecting it, walked toward the room he used for cultivation and rest. Since he planned to live here, the closer the smoke's effect, the stronger it would be, so it was best to keep it nearby. He was not afraid of the incense burner catching fire. Even if flames ignited, he had the protection of ice elements and the ability to control blazing fire, so he was fearless of any challenge. In the face of strength, all showiness became trivial. The problem that the previous owner couldn't solve was easily resolved by Ling Xiao. He was used to controlling the overall situation, becoming the true god of this world. After placing the incense burner properly, he remembered the chair he had just used to gather spiritual energy. He took it out, placed it in front of him, and sat down hard. This chair not only gathered spiritual energy but was surprisingly soft and close-fitting. Its exterior was ordinary redwood, but sitting on it felt custom-made to fit his body curves. Though no obvious deformation was visible, countless tiny atoms were precisely moving, making him extremely comfortable. The moment he sat down, the speed of spiritual power absorption instantly surged several times. Ling Xiao became increasingly satisfied with this place. In less than 2 hours, his vision refreshed layer by layer, like a rural boy entering a bustling city for the first time. Everything was novel and stunning. Even though he came from a technologically advanced universe, the wonders here still amazed him. With everything prepared, he entered a cultivation state. This was the most ritualistic cultivation experience he had ever had in the past. He often just found a place to hide, even under a big tree would do for cultivation. He never thought that cultivating like a flower in a greenhouse could be so comfortable. No wonder rich kids despise hardships with conditions like this. Who would want to go out and suffer? What's the point of growth? What's the point of social experience? To hell with all that. The moment he started cultivating, he felt his efficiency soar, and prompt sounds rang continuously in his ears. Ding! Host has cultivated for 1 minute. Physical blood and energy increased by 65, 678, 400, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, merging spiritual power 690. Ding! Blood and spirit fusion complete. Ding! Spiritual energy increased by 65, 678, 400, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, merging. Ding! Demonic energy increased by 65, 678, 400, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, merging. Ding! Spiritual energy power increased by 65, 678, 400, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, merging. Ding! Physical blood and energy power increased by 65, 678, 400, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, merging.
Ding.
Demonic energy power increased by 65, 678, 400, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, merging. With the blessing of this magical item, Ling Xiao's cultivation speed greatly improved. Unlike before, he simultaneously cultivated demonic energy, spiritual power, and blood and energy power. This stacking bonus was extremely powerful, making Ling Xiao unable to stop, so this was the thrill of spending money, so exhilarating. Looking back, he had missed a great opportunity. If he had known that cultivation auxiliary weapons could bring such huge benefits, he would never have been obsessed only with attack or defense weapons. He would definitely have maxed out all these cultivation aids. While cultivating, Ling Xiao suddenly remembered and quickly summoned the system. Check if this chair, incense burner, and tobacco can be upgraded. If possible, upgrade them to the highest level. The system responded quickly, ding, detecting.
Ding.
Incense burner, 16th rank superior, vulnerability, 14,586.1 billion, status, reparable.
Ding. Incense offering device, 16th rank peak, vulnerability, 1,456.5 billion, status, reparable. Ding. Spirit gathering chair, 17th rank lower grade, vulnerability, 154,871, status, reparable. Repair now, the system asked. Ling Xiao did not hesitate, of course repair all, upgrade to max level. System, ding, starting repair. Ding. Incense burner upgraded to 17th rank superior, vulnerability repaired. Ding. Incense offering device upgraded to 17th rank peak, vulnerability repaired. Ding. Spirit gathering chair upgraded to 17th rank superior, vulnerability repaired. The success prompt sounded. Ling Xiao sat on the newly upgraded chair and immediately felt the comfort multiply. Gently activating the spirit gathering function, the surrounding spiritual energy surged into his body like a tide. He was like a bottomless black hole, devouring all energy. Seeing the effect, Ling Xiao smiled with satisfaction. Repairs complete, upgraded to the extreme, officially entering cultivation mode. He sat steadily on the chair, feeling the energy boost. The prompt sounds crisp and pleasant in his ears, like skylark songs at the horizon. This cultivation was simply a human pleasure. Ling Xiao was already addicted. He thought to himself, such treasures should be acquired in multiples, one for his sister, 2 disciples, and Ling Daoxi as well, so they could also experience the supreme sensation. Ding, detecting host's cultivation for 1 minute, physical blood and strength increased by 65,678.4 billion quadrillions, currently merging with spiritual energy. Ding, demonic energy increased by 65,678.4 billion quadrillions, merging. Ding, spiritual energy increased by 65,678.4 billion quadrillions, merging. Cultivation was progressing smoothly when suddenly a sharp, piercing ringing sounded in his mind, followed by intense pain. Feeling as if his head was about to split open, Ling Xiao couldn't help but clutch his head and fall heavily from the chair to the ground. Gritting his teeth to endure the pain, veins bulging on his arms, the agony struck his nerves directly. He rolled on the ground, trying to vent the pain, but it brought no relief. He even considered banging his head against the wall to gain a moment of respite. The excruciating pain tore at his brain nerves like a sharp blade. Ling Xiao slumped against the wall, muscles twitching involuntarily, looking utterly miserable. He was confused. The little spirit sensed something was wrong, flew out of the small world, anxiously circling around him, and asked, "Master, what happened?" Ling Xiao couldn't even speak, only lying weakly on the ground, his face pale. Seeing this, the little spirit stopped questioning, fluttered its wings above his head, and scattered a cluster of shimmering light spots. The light spots slowly seeped into his skin, bringing a cool, soothing sensation that eased the intense pain. Gradually, Ling Xiao felt the pain lessen, and finally, his strength gradually returned. Ling Xiao sensed more and more light spots emitted by the little spirit on his body, and the pain eased to a bearable level. Weakly, he asked, "What is going on?" He knew that although the little spirit was a spiritual being born from heaven and earth, it had no healing abilities.
Since it could alleviate his condition, it must be applying the right remedy, likely related to an abnormality in his spiritual cultivation. The little spirit's expression grew serious as it replied, "The person parasitizing inside you sensed your power increase and stopped sleeping, becoming alert. He can no longer roam freely and is eager to resist. Although your spiritual power has weakened his abilities, his strength is far greater than I expected." Ling Xiao frowned deeply, feeling a vague sense of danger. The little spirit continued, "I don't even have confidence in reducing his strength to a level easy to defeat. Master, you must immediately strengthen your spiritual power, at least to 3 times his, to suppress this threat."
Ling Xiao smiled bitterly. "How far behind are we now?"
The little spirit shook its head, not optimistic. "His spiritual power has already surpassed yours. He is deeply cultivated and quickly discerns your spiritual weaknesses to launch deadly attacks. Even if you cultivate clearly now, you will still suffer fierce assaults. This attack consumed a lot, but its purpose is not just to harm, it's to instill fear. As long as your spirit wavers, he will seize the opportunity to easily invade your consciousness.
Master, don't be afraid, don't give up. I am here."
The little spirit's words were full of anxiety and concern, sincere and genuine.
Ling Xiao gazed at it and smiled faintly. "Don't worry, I won't be afraid or back down. Those who want to harm or take from me will pay a heavy price."
The little elf frowned deeply, worried, a few more traces of sorrow added to his childish face. Ling Xiao liked this care, reaching out tiredly to stroke the little elf's head. The little elf sensed his master's fatigue, flew closer on its own, and gently rubbed against his hand. Ling Xiao lay on the ground, his condition having largely recovered after the wave of attacks subsided. His immortal body prevented lasting damage unless it was extremely severe and fatal. Although the intense pain had faded, the nerves in his brain still felt torn, and the exhaustion from the mental torment had not dissipated. He just wanted to lie quietly and rest for a moment. The little elf was considerate and did not rush him, folding its wings and accompanying him and gazing at the ceiling. Ling Xiao propped up his head, the lingering pain spreading, struggling to stay awake, diverting his attention, and opened his attribute sheet to examine it carefully.
Name, Ling Xiao. Repair count, 116. Martial realm, immortal realm, 6th heaven. Soul realm, immortal realm, 10th heaven with Dao charm. Vitality, 6,000 billion quadrillion 1 point equals 3 quintillion kilograms of force. Soul, 5,000 billion quadrillion. Secondary profession Grand Master, 10 types. 17th rank, mid-grade, legendary level, unmatched strength. Skill, Weapon Master Triple Dao Principle, 1500 times power, breaking through the 10 quadrillion limit. Laws, Mastery of 3000 Dao, Extreme Domain covering 480 variations. Talent, Immortal Divine Body, Combat Power increased by 5000%, reaching Immortal Realm level 693. Human Emperor Body, Heavenly Dao level Blessing, Strength multiplied by trillions. Void Dragon Body, Flesh Invincible, Strength multiplied by 2048. Creation Power, 17th rank Supreme, possessing 2999 variations. Cultivation Method. Will of the Gods Heavenly Dao level, 17th rank Shattered, power 50,000 times. Demon God Nirvana 17th rank, lower grade. Frenzied Absorption 17th rank, lower grade. Heavenly Law and Earthly Phenomena 17th rank, middle grade, power x 1000. Genesis Divine Scripture 18th rank, lower grade. Consciousness Fission 17th rank, lower grade, power x 5000. As well as various mental attacks and formation manuals, all 17th rank, lower grade, with power reaching x 5000. Martial Skills. Death Spear Technique 17th rank, middle grade, power x 400. World Ending Light 17th rank, lower grade, power x 300. Teleportation 17th rank, lower grade, power x 200. Heaven Shaking True Spring 17th rank, lower grade, power x 200. Demonic Energy and Martial Analysis 17th rank, middle grade, power x 400. Soul Dance 15th rank, lower grade, power x 300. Dark Poem of Sorrow 16th rank, middle grade, power x 400. Picking Chrysanthemums by the Eastern Fence 15th rank, lower grade, power x 400. Falling Flowers Early 14th rank, lower grade, power x 300. Prajnaparamita Sutra 14th rank, peak, power x 500. Equipment. Black Heaven Battle Armor 17th rank, middle grade. Black Heaven Demon Spear 17th rank, middle grade. Angel Wings 17th rank, lower grade. Black Star Stone King Unknown, beyond 17th rank. Demon Subduing Wave mid grade, 16th rank. Soul Summoning Sail lower grade, 17th rank. Heaven Responding Spirit Peak, 17th rank. Diamond Bracelet 15th rank, lower grade. Natural Intense 16th rank, superior grade.
Martial Soul Vehicle 15th rank superior. Buddha Light Pearl 17th rank superior.
Mental Golden Ingot 16th level peak. Lehua Jade Pure Bottle 15th level superior. Lioli Lin Guanchu 16th level mid grade. Jadeite Spirit Gathering Bowl 17th rank, lower grade. Floating Light Music Theory Brocade 15th rank, middle grade. Lansong Jade Bone Fan 17th rank, middle grade.
Hibiscus Jade Stone 17th rank, upper grade.
Jade Butterfly Golden Ancient Seal 17th rank, middle grade. Hemlock Wood Physical Skill. Meat Floss Flip 17th rank superior, rapidly restores strength.
Echo Ring 17th rank superior, simulates the pressure of 2 realms higher.
Fennel Incense Burner 17th rank superior, can infinitely replicate items. Incense Furnace 17th rank peak, gathers the spiritual energy of heaven and earth.
Spirit Gathering Chair precisely concentrates spiritual power. Physical Combat Power, Beyond Immortal Realm, 2nd layer. Ultimate Combat Power, Super Immortal Realm, 3rd layer. Soon, Ling Xiao calmed down and sorted out the situation. He and the parasite inside his body were about to face a life and death battle. This tough fight was extremely dangerous, but he was full of confidence. Having cultivated all the way to this point, he had already understood his own strength and uncovered some details about the parasite. The opponent had exerted all its power, only causing him brief pain without inflicting fatal damage.
This was not something to fear at all.
If one lost composure after just 1 or 2 moves, that person was the real loser. He stood up, walked out of the courtyard, with the wind howling around his fists, his boxing fierce and sharp. This was not just simple training, but a violent outburst of emotion. Using the most intense force to burn the anger inside, dispelling all distractions. At first, he was unaware, but as he threw a punch, he suddenly felt the fist wind being blocked. Fully alert, he opened his eyes and stared intently ahead, but saw nothing. Inside the courtyard, there was only that ancient towering tree, lush and flourishing, with no abnormalities. Punching again, the sense of resistance vanished, as if it were an illusion. But doubts had already arisen, surging quietly in Ling Xiao's heart. His fist was not something ordinary strength could block. That thing could even resist the force of his punch, indicating the spiritual power contained within far exceeded the usual.
He released his divine sense, scanning the entire courtyard.
He had thoroughly searched it when he first arrived, but found nothing unusual.
Checking again this time, still no sound or sign.
Yet his intuition told him something was wrong.
Since divine sense couldn't detect it, he would use his fists.
He began throwing punches continuously, the punch wind sweeping through the air like aftershocks of an explosion.
Carpet bombing the area, he finally felt resistance somewhere.
The sensation was like an invisible barrier, impenetrable even by the punch wind. Such power was definitely no ordinary thing. If the little spirit were here, it would be hard for it to escape unscathed. Ling Xiao immediately set up a heavy spatial barrier around, constructing a net like heaven and earth to trap that mysterious presence. He felt he had locked the opponent down, but still couldn't see what it actually was.
Human? Ghost? Demon? Monster?
There was no way to tell.
At that moment, he thought of the little spirit.
The little spirit was skilled in mental and spiritual power. If it could identify it, it must be a mental technique, controlled by either humans or beasts behind the scenes. If even the little spirit couldn't see through it, that meant it was a mental formation, which just happened to be Ling Xiao's specialty, so there was no need to fear. Ling Xiao waved his hand, and the little spirit immediately appeared, flying several circles around him before stopping and asking, "Master, what are your orders?" Ling Xiao said, "Check if there's anything unusual here." The little spirit looked around twice and replied, "No obvious abnormalities, but I faintly sense a foreign object here." It probed closer and closer until it suddenly bumped into the spatial barrier, stopping in place but pressed tightly against it, staring fixedly inside. It turned back and said, "I sense a spiritual energy body, but 693 cannot discern its form. Perhaps it is the spiritual remnant left behind by a great power after death, preserved by secret techniques, though its strength was not maintained. When alive, it was at least an immortal realm expert." After hearing the little spirit's words, Ling Xiao had a clear idea. This person was very likely the former owner of the room. If so, the estimate of an immortal realm expert was too conservative. The opponent was at least a peak immortal realm, otherwise they wouldn't deserve such a treasure place and arrangement. The treasures placed in the center fully displayed the owner's confidence and authority. Ling Xiao felt helpless for a moment. Since it was the former owner, taking their belongings, living in their place, and killing them inevitably caused some guilt in his heart.
Moreover, the other party had been by his side all these days without showing any hostility.
Ling Xiao guessed that it was the master's soul imprint, intending to create obstacles or cast a spell to drive him away when his suspicion was at its peak, which would be easy to do. But the other party had taken no action, only silently observing. He pondered, could he talk face to face with the other party, probe their intentions, make some compromise, and consider it as paying rent? After thinking for a long time, he suddenly recalled the death element on his body. He had once used death and destruction elements to resurrect a powerful figure from the galaxy. Now, perhaps he could let this soul have a brief conversation with him. After all, resurrection was extremely difficult, especially since the other party was too powerful. Reconstructing the body of a peak immortal realm powerhouse out of thin air consumed enormous energy, which was hard to bear. Weighing this, resurrection was not worth it. He raised his hand, intertwining death and destruction elements, merging the power of reincarnation within, unleashing a life energy that shocked the soul, and suddenly injected it into the spatial barrier. In an instant, a tall humanoid silhouette appeared inside the space. The narrow spatial barrier felt extremely cramped, and the figure's body was compressed to the point of crowding. He obviously sensed the change in his body. Although still a vague, semi-transparent aura, he could not hide the excitement in his heart. He looked up and down at his arms, his facial contours gradually becoming clear, and his gaze firmly fixed on Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao was moved and guessed this was gratitude toward him. Continuing to inject spiritual power, the figure gradually became three-dimensional, and his facial features faintly emerged. Confirming there was no hostility, Ling Xiao decisively lifted the spatial barrier, freeing him. The man quickly lunged in front of Ling Xiao, opening his mouth to speak, but no sound came out. Obviously, this body was only a physical copy and could not produce sound. He then used his finger to write on the ground, his movements clumsy, and the handwriting crooked. Ling Xiao patiently waited and slowly deciphered a few words. It was his name. Then, he began writing continuously, finally conveying his story. I am the former master here. 1,000 years ago, my cultivation went out of control, my body shattered, but my soul survived. After abandoning the body, the formation's sensing greatly weakened. All cultivation techniques rely on the physical body, so I could not continue to advance. Trapped in this mansion, time passed like dust, silent and hopeless. Until your arrival, which ignited hope for life. Unable to communicate for many days, fearing collapse at any touch, I only dared to approach when I finally saw your fierce fist wind, stirring past glory. Now, I am willing to trade with you. Ling Xiao looked up and met his gaze. The other party said nothing, stood up, pointed at Ling Xiao, then at himself, and turned to gesture for him to follow. Though unclear of the meaning, Ling Xiao was certain in his heart, since it was a trade, there must be stakes. So he boldly followed. He was not afraid. With spiritual bodyguards nearby, the blessing of parasitic lifeforms, and his own formidable strength, he was invincible both mentally and in combat power. Relying solely on the spiritual power and physical strength of the parasitic lifeforms, how could he easily give up the juicy prize before him? Ling Xiao suddenly felt intrigued. The enemy, in a critical moment, might become the last resort. Human hearts are nothing but battles of interest, there are never any true friends. The man led the way, frequently looking back, eagerness mixed with expectation. They arrived at the main house, where an ancient incense burner was placed. He twisted and turned his fingers, forming seals several times, and suddenly a rift in the void appeared, like a gateway to another world. The sudden spatial entrance shocked Ling Xiao. He was stunned, not expecting such a secret mechanism to be hidden in this residence. As a master of spatial spiritual power, he felt a trace of respect for this mysterious mechanism. This person's spatial attainments might be no less than his own, perhaps even deeper. Moreover, he was preparing to help him reconstruct an immortal body. This trip would surely bring great rewards. Thoughts surged in his mind as Ling Xiao tightened his divine sense and stepped into that mysterious space. The person in front no longer hesitated. He had wandered in this hellish space for many years. Despair had long eroded his soul. Now, finally grasping a glimmer of hope, he gave his all, pouring everything into it, only hoping Ling Xiao could help him rebuild his body and return to the mortal world, no longer drifting as a wandering spirit. Time passed, loneliness followed like a shadow. He had been imprisoned too long, nearly driven mad, even regretting why he had survived as such a vague spiritual body. Neither human nor ghost. Seasons changed, only the cold moonlight accompanied him. The empty residence was cold and merciless, shattering at a touch. That kind of despair was hard for ordinary people to understand. He had thought countless times to end himself, but his spiritual power dissipated at the slightest touch, never able to return to himself. His spiritual body could still absorb the essence of heaven and earth, but this power only flowed in and out, unable to be stored. No physical form, no meridians, no flesh and blood. Between life and death, he had become a wandering ghost. If he were not afraid of disturbing Ling Xiao, he would have long reached out to grasp Ling Xiao's wrist pulse, swiftly leading him to the destination to seize the treasure he yearned for first. Their steps grew increasingly hurried, and Ling Xiao almost struggled to keep up. Before long, they arrived at their destination. The scene before him was soul-stirring, piled high with dazzling treasures. Some were immediately recognizable to Ling Xiao, sharp and formidable; others were strange and unfathomable, leaving him puzzled. Without exception, all were top-tier treasures that would attract countless powerful contenders if placed outside. Among them was a weapon emitting a strong aura, far surpassing the supreme jade talisman Ling Xiao had ever seen. Before Ling Xiao could regain his composure, the vague figure could no longer contain himself. He stepped in front of Ling Xiao, drawing attention, spreading his hands wide to solemnly display the treasure in his grasp. Ling Xiao immediately understood the other's intention. As long as he could forge a new body for him, he was willing to offer all his treasures. The temptation was hard to resist. If these treasures came under his control, combined with the system's assistance, Ling Xiao would become an unrivaled tycoon. Moreover, he had originally planned to forge this person's new body. He smiled and said, "Deal. I'll help you reshape your flesh and blood, but don't back out." The other nodded excitedly, afraid he might change his mind. Ling Xiao added, "I will do my best, but you will never be stronger than before. After resurrection, the risk is yours." The man still smiled brightly, excitement almost bursting through the screen. Though his face was blurred, it radiated burning hope. Ling Xiao could feel that determination, willing to fight even if it meant bleeding and breaking his head. The deal was sealed. Ling Xiao began to channel elemental power. This task was far more difficult than resurrecting an entire galaxy. The reason was simple: the other's strength far exceeded ordinary imagination. Ling Xiao mobilized the three great elements within him: destruction, reincarnation, and death, preparing to face the challenge. Having not used elemental power for a long time, he was surprised to find his strength had advanced by leaps and bounds. The surrounding space began to fluctuate violently. Recently, spatial fluctuations around him have frequently appeared, whether he was practicing boxing, fighting, or even reviving. Although the fluctuations were intense, they were a sign of growth. Those wild elements condensed under his control, transforming into shocking forces that danced in the air and converged into shape. A blurry human figure gradually appeared. Others became increasingly excited, and he felt the wild power in Ling Xiao's hands was granting him a new life. The belief in people's hearts grew stronger. He thought to himself that he was extremely lucky this time to meet someone so capable and responsible. It seemed truly destined for him to be reborn. As the elemental power in Ling Xiao's hands became purer, the consumption of spiritual power also soared sharply. The outline of the backup body gradually became clear. After breaking through the critical point, the spiritual form began to transform into flesh and blood. Cells proliferated wildly, muscle layers took shape, and skin slowly covered them. A vivid human form was about to take shape. The blurry soul body beside him trembled with excitement. Though it had no physical form, it could not hide its anticipation. Ling Xiao, however, wore a solemn expression. The spiritual power consumption had exceeded the threshold, and the burden on his body increased sharply. But he absolutely would not allow the condensation to be interrupted. If it broke, all the spiritual energy would instantly dissipate, and all previous efforts would be in vain. He stared intently at the condensation process, not daring to relax for a moment. More anxious than him was the expectant soul body beside him, its eyes fixed on Ling Xiao's hands, fearing any break in the spiritual power flow. Fortunately, despite being drenched in sweat, the spiritual power in Ling Xiao's hands still flowed steadily, continuously, without any weakening. After observing for a long time, the soul body's tension eased slightly, convinced that Ling Xiao was a responsible person who, even at great personal cost, would complete the mission. Ling Xiao, however, had no time to care about others' emotions. All his focus was immersed in the condensation work. This was not only an extreme test of spiritual power reserves but also a delicate and complex technical challenge. Fortunately, he had once stayed in the ruins of the desire-extinguishing demon god for a while, dissected countless corpses, and thoroughly understood human anatomy. That experience became a valuable asset in shaping the body. Otherwise, trying to condense a complete limb from nothing would require consulting materials or even performing dissections himself, which would be time-consuming and disgusting. The body before him became increasingly lifelike. Suddenly, Ling Xiao's expression changed drastically, clearly encountering a problem. The soul body anxiously stared at him. Ling Xiao suddenly asked, "This face, what kind of appearance do you want?" The soul body froze, thinking he was about to ask some crucial question, but unexpectedly, it was such a straightforward one. Then he thought, since rebirth comes at such a great cost, choosing the appearance is understandable. He wrote 2 characters on the hard ground with his finger, handsome. Ling Xiao looked at the characters and smiled faintly, no problem, as you wish. He continued to concentrate, and the facial contours gradually became clear. Although he didn't know how the aesthetics here differed from those in his original place, he simply shaped it according to his own taste, like customizing a character's face in a game, which was surprisingly enjoyable. When he felt his spiritual power was about to be exhausted, the backup body was finally formed. After losing the support of spiritual power, the body gradually softened and collapsed to the ground. The soul body eagerly rushed forward, carefully examining the new body, first looking at the face, then checking all parts, testing talents and potential. It must be said, Ling Xiao was indeed responsible. Since the other party paid such a huge price to ask him for resurrection, he would never shortchange them. This body is outstanding in terms of innate spiritual power, meridian width, and development potential. The basic cultivation level has reached the eternal life realm. Although it does not match the height of the other's former immortal realm, it is still commendable. With such potential and talent, as long as he regains his old cultivation manual and sets foot on the path of cultivation again, he firmly believes that one day he will break through the immortal realm and ascend to the peak once more. The person in front of him finished examining the body, and the excitement in his heart erupted like a volcano. Please send flowers. Previously, he had doubts that Ling Xiao might play tricks or slack off, so he remained tense. Until this moment, seeing this flawless body lying quietly, he finally released the long-suppressed joy within. Ling Xiao looked at him, feeling a premonition. If this spiritual body were not designed to be tearless, this person would have already been weeping uncontrollably, overwhelmed with emotion. Ling Xiao could deeply empathize with how happy he was. Ling Xiao had once imprisoned the dragon ancestor. In just a few days, the dragon clan went mad, desperately trying to escape the dark prison. But this person, for millions of years unchanged, trapped in a hopeless space, unable to touch the outside world, with even death being a luxury, loneliness and despair intertwined, breaking one's heart. That person looked up, pointed at himself, then at the body on the ground, signaling him to quickly merge the soul with the body. Ling Xiao understood his urgency and smiled, shaking his head, "Don't rush. Since this body was made for you, it will eventually belong to you. Being hasty won't help. Besides, even if I took it away, it would be useless. This is your territory. Once your strength recovers, you won't be my match, but if you want to cause me trouble, it would be easy. So, I'll take back my payment first, then help you restore your body. Do you agree?" The person before him only wished to live. He didn't listen carefully to Ling Xiao's words but silently nodded, just wanting to enter the body quickly. He knew that without Ling Xiao's help, even with the body in front of him, he would be powerless to control it. Only by complying now was there hope. Seeing his cooperation, Ling Xiao was secretly pleased. He moved efficiently, putting all the items on him into the small world one by one. Then he instructed the little spirit to organize everything, completing the task in less than 2 minutes. The small world isolated external interference. Even those with spiritual power 2 realms higher would find it difficult to disrupt its connection. This ensured everything was secure. If this person wanted to cause trouble, Ling Xiao's escape would be easier. He turned to the person and said, "Close your eyes. No matter what fluctuations occur next, don't panic. The process may involve pain or turbulence, but it will be very brief. Above all, remember not to resist my guidance." The person listened carefully and nodded repeatedly, vowing to obey. Ling Xiao was at ease and exerted his spiritual power to envelop the body. This body was condensed from the elements within him, with extremely strong affinity, but its connection to the future master was still weak. Without guidance, the body might reject the new soul, even strangling it. Therefore, he used spiritual power to confuse the body, guiding it to merge. In this way, the body's recognition was confused, mistakenly believing the soul to be the creator, and opened its embrace. Once the soul was injected, Ling Xiao would apply a harmonizing technique to make the two perfectly compatible, solving the problem effortlessly. The process began, and the person felt a soft membrane wrapping around the entire body, as if the body was flying out, approaching the new form. Immediately after, the soul merged with the new flesh, and he struggled to suppress the surging excitement in his heart. Breathing was deliberately suppressed. Ling Xiao held his breath, afraid to disturb the changes within. Yet his heart pounded wildly, its rhythm rapid like thunder. His soul body had shallowly penetrated the flesh, the process extremely smooth, without any discomfort. He tried to control the body but found he had not succeeded yet, forcing himself to stay calm and patiently wait. Suddenly, a tearing, intense pain struck. He tightly restrained his reaction, forcing himself to relax and resist no resistance.
The pain abruptly vanished, and he joyfully sensed the external aura.
Opening his eyes, Ling Xiao was already nowhere to be seen, having run far away to check the spoils.
He had no extra energy to care, only excitedly staring at the body, feeling the long-lost vitality.
In the distance, Ling Xiao opened the attribute panel.
Name, Ling Xiao. Repair count, 117.
Martial Realm, Immortal Realm, 6th Heaven, 15th Layer.
Soul Realm, Immortal Realm, 10th Layer with Tao Rhythm Blessing.
Vitality, 710 to the power of 22. Strength unit conversion, 1 point equals 310 to the power of 18 kg.
Soul, 610 to the power of 22.
Secondary Profession Grand Master, 10 types 17th rank, mid-grade, 0510 to the power of 15, legendary level. Skill, Weapon Master Triple Tao Principles, 15 times, 0110 to the power of 13.
Rule Mastery, 3000 types limit domain 480 types.
Talent, Undying Divine Body Immortal level, combat power increased by 5000%. Human Emperor Body Heavenly Tao level, combat power amplification 10 to the power of 11 times.
Void Dragon Body Immortal level, physical strength 2048 times.
Power of Creation 17th rank supreme, mastering 2999 types of power.
Cultivation techniques.
Will of the Gods Heavenly Tao level, 17th rank shattered 50,000 times.
Demon Gods Nirvana 17th rank lower grade.
Berserk Absorption level 17, low grade. Law of Heaven and Phenomena of Earth 17th rank middle grade, 1000 times. Genesis Divine Scripture 18th rank, lower grade.
Consciousness Fission 17th rank lower grade, 5000 times.
Introduction to Spiritual Cultivation 17th rank lower grade, 5000x. Beginner Spiritual Attack Supporting Technique 17th rank lower grade, 5000x.
100 Methods to Forge Spiritual Attack Devices 17th rank lower grade, 5000x. Advanced Formation Cultivation 17th rank lower grade, 5000x. Material Illusion Array Deception 17th rank lower grade, 5000x. Martial Skills.
Death Gun Technique 17th rank middle grade, 400 times. Light of World Annihilation 17th rank lower grade, 300x.
Teleportation 17th rank lower grade, 200x.
Heaven Shaking True Spring 17th rank lower grade, 200x.
Demonic Energy and Demonic Martial Analysis 17th rank middle grade, 400x. Soul Dance 15th rank, lower grade, 300x. Dark Palm Technique 16th rank, mid-level, 400x.
Picking Chrysanthemums by the Eastern Fence 15th rank, low grade, 400x.
Falling Flowers early 14th rank, lower grade, 300x. Prajnaparamita Sutra 14th level P, 500 times. Equipment. Black Heaven Battle Armor 17th rank, middle grade. Black Heaven Demon Spear 17th rank, middle grade. Angel Wings 17th rank, lower grade.
Black Star Stone King Unknown rank, above 17th rank.
Demon Subduing Wave mid-grade, 16th rank. Soul Summoning Sail lower grade, 17th rank. Heaven Responding Spirit Peak, 17th rank. Diamond Bracelet 15th rank, lower grade. Natural Intense 16th rank, superior grade.
Martial Soul Vehicle 15th rank superior. Buddha Light Pearl 17th rank superior.
Mental Golden Ingot 16th level peak. Lehua Jade Pure Bottle 15th level superior. Lioli Lin Guanchu 16th level mid-grade. Jadeite Spirit Gathering Bowl 17th rank, lower grade.
Floating Light Music Theory Brocade 15th rank, middle grade.
Lansong Jade Bone Fan 17th rank, middle grade.
Hibiscus Jade Stone 17th rank upper grade.
Jade Butterfly Golden Ancient Seal 17th rank, middle grade. Hemlock Wood Physical Department Cultivation Method. Neat Floss Peak 17th rank upper grade, rapidly replenishes power when weak.
Echo Ring 17th rank upper grade, simulates the pressure of cultivators 2 realms higher.
Soul Pavilion 17th rank upper grade.
Physical Combat Power, Beyond Immortal Realm 3rd layer. Ultimate Combat Power, Beyond Immortal Realm 4th layer. Ling Xiao scanned the attribute panel. Aside from the most satisfying loot, the rest were just supplements, so they were not recorded in the system. Although that person handed over the treasure trove to him, the truly precious items were still carried personally. The incense burner, incense, and that chair were the most important, which Ling Xiao had already obtained and enhanced. The rest were just scattered supplements, to be slowly collected when there was a chance in the future. Allocate more resources to Ling Daoshi so he can properly arm himself. If there are leftovers, then store them in his own warehouse, who knows when they might come in handy.
Sell them? Don't joke.
Ling Xiao never considered that option. He wasn't too short of money, especially after mastering the virtual universe and the vast resource pool. His wealth was as vast as an ocean.
No country, even combined, could match his immense financial strength.
Once upon a time, he was just a poor wretch on earth, only hearing those rich second-generation heirs flaunt their wealth. Now, after spending many years in this world, he has almost obtained everything he wanted. For a moment, he even felt a bit lost. Occasionally recalling memories of Earth, the feeling was like stories from a past life. Now, he had left the originally chosen residence, signaling the start of a new journey, finding a place to settle. He was not afraid of being tracked. Even if the other party wanted to cause trouble, they didn't have the strength. It was just that Ling Xiao didn't like living with strangers and was too lazy to waste energy on pointless socializing. He preferred solitude, simple and clean. With the little spirit by his side, a companion who knew when to be warm or cold, his loneliness greatly diminished. Moreover, the parasite hidden within him was still unstable and could erupt at any time. He could not afford to let his guard down. Previously, due to negligence, he had almost been caught off guard by the other party. To solve this deadly problem, he had to find a safe and reliable place. Since those people were blocking his door, there were naturally many vacant places to settle. He was by no means short of places to live. To be safe, he quietly returned to the old residence and used his divine sense to investigate. Sure enough, those immortal level experts were still guarding it fiercely. They never thought Ling Xiao had already left. It should be known that these experts guarded strictly, making it almost impossible to slip away silently. Although these people knew Ling Xiao was far superior to them, they were arrogant and never thought of themselves as weak. They believed Ling Xiao was just exceptionally gifted with unique cultivation methods, and that if they apprenticed and obtained those methods, they could become equally powerful in the future. Their arrogance undoubtedly gave Ling Xiao some breathing room. Seeing them calm and composed, without any boundary-crossing moves, Ling Xiao left with peace of mind. You can wait as long as you want. Even when the flowers wither, there will be no result. Ling Xiao knew clearly that continuing to waste time was meaningless. Sooner or later, they would discover he had left, but cultivators didn't need to eat or drink, and it was normal to stay secluded for hundreds of years. Those people hoping for a long silence to catch him were almost impossible to take such a risk. Perhaps, even when he left this universe, they would still be completely unaware. With a plan in mind, Ling Xiao turned and left, deciding to seek a new place to settle. This time, he changed direction, turning from southeast to southwest. Both sides were densely populated with cultivators, and he didn't want to get too close to that person. That person's body would recover and definitely come out to move around after being trapped for so long. They would want to let loose. If they met, it might become a psychological shadow for the other party, forcing him to find a new residence or even roam the world. Others might think this speculation was exaggerated, but only Ling Xiao knew deeply that this was no alarmist talk. Being confined for many years and still maintaining rationality was already a miracle. It was already quite good. How could one expect that person's logic to still be reasonable? He was deeply troubled, investigating repeatedly until he finally locked onto a target. The next moment, his figure flashed, appearing in this courtyard. This place was much simpler than the one he had chosen before. Both the layout and the furniture resembled those of an ordinary household. Obviously, this person was a reclusive expert. If it weren't for the rich spiritual energy and excellent location here, Ling Xiao would almost have thought this was just a common farmhouse, not the residence of a top-tier powerhouse. Judging by the sharp aura, he concluded that a cultivator at the 7th level of the immortal realm lived here. Strangely, strength is usually judged by realm, but the higher the realm, the greater the disparity. Heavenly materials, treasures, and money can all boost cultivation, yet true strength varies greatly. Take Ling Xiao himself, for example. Though only at the 2nd or 3rd level of the immortal realm, he was able to repel the universe-famous peak immortal realm Great Black Python in one strike and escape unscathed, which was incredible. Then there was Ling Daoshi, whose cultivation was at the 3rd level of the immortal realm, yet he was the undisputed strongest here, ruling a domain that all cultivators respected and obeyed. Strength depends on many factors. Spiritual power and realm are only part of it. Judging a hero solely by cultivation level means the person's understanding is shallow. Ling Xiao repeatedly scanned the courtyard with his spiritual sense but still felt uneasy. Like before in that other courtyard, he practiced his boxing while investigating, ensuring no threats were nearby before beginning cultivation. Although encountering that person caused no loss and even brought gains, he didn't want to take any more risks.
Not everyone was as harmless as that person. A single mistake could lead to an ambush. Everyone's personality differs. Not everyone can tolerate having their peace disturbed. At this moment, the sun had set, and darkness was creeping in around. The day had passed just like that. A thrilling day, attacked by parasites in the morning, discovering a lifeform while boxing, helping someone sculpt their body for a reward, investigating a residence. After a whole day of running around, his worries were swept away. Now that everything was settled, he could finally sit down and cultivate in peace. Exhaling, he pondered. The most important thing right now was to eliminate the parasites inside his body. As long as they weren't removed, he wouldn't have peace for a single day. He didn't know when they would attack again. Last time, he was in a safe environment, with only a spiritual body nearby and no hostility, which was why he escaped unharmed. No one can say if next time will be as lucky. Hidden dangers must be eliminated while one still has the strength. Otherwise, if it suddenly goes rogue during battle, he might find it hard to escape unscathed. He decided to confront it in advance, never allowing the parasite to cause trouble. Ling Xiao has always been strong-willed, never tolerating any threats. Especially threats to his life. He would rather fight to the death than be a coward hiding and dodging. He summoned little spirits to surround him, sitting cross-legged to set up a tight defense. A mixed barrier woven from a mental shield, time elements, and space elements, along with meticulous spiritual reconnaissance. Any anomaly would be detected immediately. Only after confirming safety did Ling Xiao begin to cultivate with peace of mind. This time, unlike before, his goal was clear and his determination firm. Ling Xiao decisively severed his connection with his body, letting it become bait to lure the monster, then engaged it in fierce combat. Danger was ever present. A single mistake could turn him into a parasite, or even cause him to vanish completely, his body fully controlled by the enemy, himself reduced to a slave. He absolutely could not sit and wait for death. He had to try. The moment the connection was cut, he immediately sensed a strange consciousness flooding in. They had become beings of the same level, clearly perceiving each other's movements. At this moment, his body had become a treasure fought over by two powerful beings. Two auras clashed fiercely like savage wolves. If Ling Xiao's body was truly a treasure, it must be unparalleled in the world. It not only carried his cultivation but also contained endless potential, rare treasures, and incredible mysterious powers. The system, the virtual universe, the god-slaying tower, all secret weapons he had accumulated along the way. He hid in a corner, closely watching every move of the opponent. The opponent was extremely cautious. Though aware of the severed connection, they did not attack rashly but lurked and observed. When the opponent finally could no longer suppress their desire and prepared to seize control with lightning speed, Ling Xiao was already poised and ready. The moment the opponent made a move, they were firmly suppressed by Ling Xiao. The two spiritual forces clashed fiercely, evenly matched, leaving Ling Xiao greatly shocked. Unexpectedly, the opponent's strength was so formidable, able to endure silently for such a long time. If I hadn't acted impulsively just now, it would have been difficult to capture them. The opponent's current impulse clearly shows they understand that further delay will only weaken themselves, eventually dissipating completely into the void. Although this battle was a trap set by Ling Xiao, it became the key to turning the tide. Victory will completely rewrite fate and break free from the current predicament. Two souls entangled in the void, engaging in pure mental combat for the first time, yet instinctively aware of the rhythm of offense and defense. They opened their mouths at each other, frantically devouring the other's soul. Ling Xiao bit down, feeling as if biting into soft marshmallow. The opponent's soul instantly turned into strands of sweet vapor, merging into Ling Xiao's body, strengthening his spiritual power. But the opponent was also gnawing at Ling Xiao's body. Every spiritual energy gap silently dissipated. This primal mental battle was as fierce as a duel between peaky mortals, even surpassing them. However, Ling Xiao held the advantage. This was his body, familiar and intimate. His spirit recovered quickly, while the opponent was like a rootless floating weed. Every consumption was a real loss. Ling Xiao easily tore at the opponent, but devouring was extremely difficult. The opponent resisted desperately, and even biting off a small piece of soul took half a day's effort. The opponent's strength continuously declined, anxiety soaring. Suddenly, with a roar, brilliant golden light burst forth from within. Ling Xiao immediately felt the opponent's strength surge, making devouring much harder. The opponent seemed to don a hard armor, and the speed of spiritual power recovery greatly increased, leaving Ling Xiao puzzled and confused. Suddenly, he caught a familiar aura from the golden light, seemingly coming from within himself, but he couldn't identify the source at once. After careful sensing, a shocking guess surged in Ling Xiao's mind, so startling it made his heart stop. He believed there was no other explanation for this matter.
With his current insight, it was entirely possible. He smelled a familiar aura in the soul before him, precisely the destruction and death elements he had injected when shaping that person just now. Moreover, since the opponent was also a drifting spiritual body, a bold guess flashed through his mind: this person and the one he resurrected might be the same person, or at least have some mysterious connection. They could even share abilities. Helping that person was like digging a pit for himself. Thinking of this, anger surged in Ling Xiao's eyes, and frustration flooded his heart like a tide. He wished he could turn back immediately and kill that person. Although he had kindly resurrected them and received payment, the cost was not worth the price he had to pay. If he hadn't been willing to help, these things wouldn't have attracted Ling Xiao at all. He never expected that a moment of recklessness would become today's stumbling block. How could he not be angry? His eyes flashed with fiery light, and his attacks grew fiercer, as if he wanted to grind the opponent into powder to vent his rage. In fact, he didn't hate that person, but hated himself, hated that he trusted people too easily, acted too casually, and made decisions thinking neither side would lose out. He also hated that he wasn't strong enough to solve the problem with one move and had to continue the struggle. But fortunately, Ling Xiao had grown along the way and knew that no matter how angry he was, he had to stay calm. Now that things had come to this, the most important thing was to solve the immediate problem and make up for the mistake. If old wounds affected the present and caused failure, that would be true foolishness, beyond cure. Ling Xiao never allowed himself to be foolish. Since he had already made a mistake just now, it had to end here. As long as he killed the person in front of him, it would be a reasonable excuse for himself to relax his vigilance. He sneered coldly: using my power against me? No problem, I can resurrect you, give you power, and also accelerate its decay. After all, that power originally belonged to me. If you take what's mine, you have to pay the price. Ling Xiao's mind shifted as he tracked the energy fluctuations emanating from his own body. Contrary to his expectations, although the other person had some of his power, it was only a tiny fraction, far from the full amount he had just poured in. He knew exactly how much power he had used and how much remained. This person must have a blood relation or a mysterious contract with the resurrected one to share this bit of power, but they were still far from being one. That was enough. Ling Xiao tested the spiritual power inside the other's body, confirmed he could fully control it, then quickly dispersed the condensed death elements, letting them roam deep within the opponent's soul. This strike instantly shattered the opponent's previously enhanced power. Not only did the enhancement disappear, but even the original strength was damaged. Originally, he had relied on Ling Xiao's spiritual power amplification to strengthen himself, but now this power had become a mole, wreaking havoc throughout his body. This was far from a simple increase or decrease in power. If it weren't for Ling Xiao personally delivering it inside, it would have been difficult to achieve this so easily. This person reaped what he sowed attempting to scheme against Ling Xiao. He ended up losing more than he gained. After the sudden drop in strength, his attacks became noticeably slower, his face frequently contorted in pain, accompanied by muffled groans, clearly showing his body was severely injured. Finally, he stopped attacking, gritting his teeth to endure the pain and recuperate. Ling Xiao also ceased his assault, looking at him coldly, a mocking smile curling at the corner of his mouth. At this moment, the opponent was already in a dead end. Daring to offend Ling Xiao and still expect to walk away unscathed? They clearly did not take him seriously at all. Ling Xiao thought to himself that from now on, he could no longer let enemies off so easily. He feigned kindness, appearing gentle on the surface, but was cold and ruthless inside, never allowing the opponent to see any sign of weakness. When the opponent's pained expression came into view, Ling Xiao no longer hesitated. He suddenly opened his mouth and bit down hard, one bite after another. The sensation was not like killing a person, but more like savoring an exquisite delicacy. The aroma was rich and the sweetness deep. Ling Xiao had never tasted such nourishing power before. The opponent's aura was dense and pure, with spiritual and mental energy intertwined into a powerful force. Each bite felt like swallowing the essence of heaven and earth, directly injected into his body, requiring no digestion, instantly transforming into strength. The spiritual body had drifted for a long time, causing the soul to become loose and the consciousness to remain faint, making digestion incredibly easy. A smile of enjoyment appeared on Ling Xiao's face. He slowed his pace, no longer rushing to completely devour the opponent, but instead chewing carefully like savoring tea, enjoying this rare feast. The fear of the one being devoured burned like a raging fire, as if falling into hell. Unlike Ling Xiao's indestructible holy body with its strong recovery, this parasitic body had drifted for many years, its strength greatly diminished, and now it could only be slaughtered without any resistance. Each bite was like scorching lava burning the skin, with layers of death and destruction elements corroding further, causing the soul to slowly collapse in agony. He had regretted choosing Ling Xiao countless times. When his soul first regained consciousness, he had the chance to escape, find a new host, and be reborn. But at that time, arrogant and overconfident, once invincible in the world, seeing Ling Xiao's strong body, he was confident he could control everything and never doubted the possibility of failure.
He left to train while Ling Xiao was asleep, rapidly increasing his strength, seemingly holding a sure victory.
However, the situation suddenly changed. Ling Xiao sensed the disturbance and set an unprecedented trap, leaving him nowhere to hide. From then on, all opportunities were gone. He could no longer grow stronger in secret and could only watch helplessly as he gradually weakened.
He was unwilling to accept this.
Whether or not he could fight Ling Xiao again, he had to vent the resentment in his heart. This morning, he exhausted all his accumulated power, even at the cost of damaging his own vitality, determined to strike Ling Xiao hard and prove he was no coward. He chose to attack when Ling Xiao was unprepared but was unexpectedly blocked by a mysterious force. What was even more despairing was that as soon as the attack landed, he saw Ling Xiao's spirit instantly recover, as if never injured. At that moment, he fully understood his opponent possessed terrifyingly strong defenses, was difficult to harm, and could revive infinitely. The hope of victory instantly vanished into thin air. He had never seen such a terrifying enemy. People let alone now, when most cultivation places have long fallen and spiritual energy is scarce even in ancient times, he had never seen such a formidable existence, unmatched strength, boundless knowledge, and mastery of many skills. He seemed like a flawless god descending to the mortal world to face the trials of fate. Every confident person who wanted to compete with him ultimately painfully realized they were simply not on the same level. His power exceeded their understanding, and victory was a delusion. But this man was unwilling to give up. He fought with all his might, paying a heavy price. To preserve his soul fragment, he abandoned his physical body long ago in ancient times, chasing that elusive hope.
After enduring a long time, finally given a chance to revive, how could he easily give up?
Just like the person Ling Xiao once saw in the mansion, sealed coldly for years, who after seeing the light of day again, could no longer endure the torment of darkness and loneliness. So he fought back madly, enduring pain, forcibly controlling his body, and lunged to bite Ling Xiao. He bit down hard, tearing a piece of skin from Ling Xiao's shoulder and absorbing a large amount of spiritual energy. But this had limited effect on Ling Xiao. The moment his soul was bitten, his spiritual power quickly sealed the leakage channel, and the wound instantly self-repaired as if never injured. The two spent a long time in this extremely uneven confrontation. That man's strength was almost depleted, and the outcome was nearly certain. Just as Ling Xiaosong exhaled, the enemy suddenly stopped, coldly staring at Ling Xiao's soul form, revealing a strange and terrifying smile.
This smile on his mutilated body appeared especially eerie.
Seeing this, Ling Xiao's heart tightened. He had witnessed this smile many times before. It was the resolute expression of a desperate person, fighting to the death, even if it meant dragging the enemy down with them in madness. In the soul form state, the two shared Ling Xiao's body. The body was unconscious and defenseless. If the opponent chose to self-destruct, Ling Xiao's body would suffer severe damage, and even his immortal body would be difficult to repair. He had to stop it. Ling Xiao charged forward, his spiritual form tightly embracing the other. The enemy's mutilated spiritual form still retained some spiritual power. Though no longer able to fight, the explosion would be devastating. Ling Xiao quickly mobilized all his spiritual power, building a thick spiritual barrier around them, exerting all his strength just to protect the body.
The enemy sneered coldly, seeing through Ling Xiao's intention. You think I'm so easily stopped? Young man, don't think that just because I can't beat you, you will win.
Laughter suddenly erupted, and the body exploded with a roar. The shockwave released by the soul explosion shook the surroundings. Ling Xiao's spiritual barrier trembled violently, on the verge of collapse.
Ling Xiao cursed inwardly, damn it. This barrier definitely can't hold.
I have to abandon defense and use my soul form to absorb most of the impact. Only by doing this could he ensure the body would not suffer fatal injuries and preserve the possibility of continuing cultivation in the future. He rushed into the explosion's core, actively absorbing most of the explosive energy with his soul. The soul fluctuations were intense, but he was prepared, acting within his limits to avoid reaching the extreme and causing irreversible damage to his spiritual form. The remaining explosive energy was completely suppressed by the spiritual barrier, and the crisis was finally averted. The spiritual power lingering in the air drifted away like ghosts. Ling Xiao gazed quietly, a surge of emotions stirring deep within.
Some feelings of melancholy.
The figure before him must once have been a strong person of iron will. Now, only a remnant remained, gradually fading away in time. Ling Xiao felt a wave of sighs rise in his heart but did not linger long. He knew clearly that in this world, the weak are prey to the strong, and only the fittest survive. If one day he lost his power and became a defeated general, no good fate would await him.
No one in the world will pity the weak.
If there truly were someone full of compassion, they would have long been devoured and turned into nourishment. Ling Xiao quickly gathered the scattered spiritual energy around him, filling and repairing the damaged spiritual power. He restored the connection with his body and regained control over his own form. With his body back under control, the feeling was exceptionally pleasant. Especially after that mental battle, nearly losing his body, this sensation was all the more precious. He looked down at his hands, clenched his fists tightly, then loosened them, and clenched again.
Each movement gave him an unprecedented sense of satisfaction.
To have a body, to have autonomy, was such a blessing. After 2 fierce battles, Ling Xiao understood even more clearly that many things taken for granted in daily life were treasures others dreamed of. He slowly lowered his hands and closed his eyes. After a moment, he opened them, his gaze cleared of confusion, sharpened with resolve and determination. He rose swiftly and threw out several sets of punches. Recently, he had been punching more frequently, not only to enhance his spiritual power but also to calm the turmoil within his heart. After the intense clash of spiritual energies, his emotions were tangled like a mess of threads. He hated this uncontrollable self, only his fists were the most familiar and reassuring support. Every punch felt like reclaiming his own control. At this moment, the system notification sounds rang continuously.
Ding!
Detected host training for 1 minute, physical chi and blood power increased by 65,678.4 trillion Gai, currently merging with spiritual power.
Ding! Chi and blood power merged with spiritual power completed. Ding!
Detected host training for 1 minute, physical chi and blood power increased by 65,678.4 trillion Gai, currently merging with spiritual power.
Ding! Chi and blood power merged with spiritual power completed.
The sounds repeated in a loop, the force of each punch solid, each strike bringing spiritual comfort and an irreplaceable sense of security. This feeling told him he had grown stronger, capable of protecting himself and those important to him. He would no longer be easily controlled by others, nor would he ever lose control over his body again. This was Ling Xiao's lifelong pursuit. Only by continuously growing stronger and eliminating all threats can one protect the stability before them and live in peace. He suddenly remembered his 2 disciples, whom he had not yet resurrected. A wave of sorrow and irony surged in his heart. He could resurrect others, even those who once stabbed him, but he was powerless to revive the ones he most wanted to protect.
Because he was not strong enough yet.
A sharp pain struck his heart as he entered the small world once again. Through the coffin constructed by the spatial barrier, he saw Ling Bai lying inside. After being sealed by spiritual energy for a long time, Ling Bai's complexion had recovered considerably, and his physical wounds had mostly healed. Ling Xiao could easily release Ling Bai, use his own power to repair his body, and then awaken his soul. But this might harm Yu Hong. Yu Hong's soul was shattered, without a body, and had only one chance at resurrection. Ling Xiao had to be absolutely certain before he could confidently proceed with the resurrection. Otherwise, his gaze fixed tightly on Ling Bai, the guilt in his heart surging like a tide, destined to accompany him for life. Thinking if there was any other way, he summoned the virtual universe, the intelligent core that had accompanied Yu Hong for many years. The virtual universe, having been tempered by time, had become the deepest understanding of Yu Hong and Ling Bai. Ling Xiao had been absent too long to personally grasp his disciples' conditions and could only seek help from it. The virtual universe responded quickly, "Master, what are your orders?" Ling Xiao asked in a deep voice, "You have followed Yu Hong and Ling Bai for many years and understand their strength and mindset. What do you think is the safest way to reunite them and help them recover?" The virtual universe was silent for a moment, as if sifting through countless memory fragments and strategy plans, then finally said, "Master, you could take a chance and not worry about Yu Hong inside Ling Bai. Directly resurrect Ling Bai, restore his consciousness and cultivation. Then teach him the soul cultivation techniques. Don't underestimate Ling Bai's potential." Ling Xiao was no longer familiar with their current spiritual power and realms, and the virtual universe's words made him fall into deep thought. He knew well that his disciple's strength had long surpassed his imagination. He sighed, "All right, you make a good point." Having said that, he left the small world. According to the virtual universe's suggestion, he could revive Ling Bai at any time to stand before him. But the exhaustion of the day left him in poor condition, and acting rashly carried great risks. Ling Xiao was unwilling to take risks and decided to first elevate his strength to the peak before making a move. The parasite inside his body had been dispelled. He could have recovered through sleep, but since he needed a large amount of spiritual power tomorrow to resurrect 2 disciples, he chose to meditate and cultivate, which would allow him to recover quickly and slightly enhance his strength. He returned indoors, sat cross-legged, and felt the surrounding spiritual power surge in like a tide, absorbing it without reservation. After a night of cultivation, he restored himself to peak condition. Morning light spread across the land as Ling Xiao slowly opened his eyes, his vision clearing from blurry to sharp. He felt his power returning, raised his hand to condense a stream of energy, carefully examining his own state.
For a more intuitive view, he opened the attribute interface. Name, Ling Xiao. Repair count, 117. Martial Dao Realm, Immortal Realm, 6th Heaven. Soul Realm, Immortal Realm, 10th Heaven with Dao Rhyme Blessing. Vitality, 7,000 billion Gai 1 point equals 3 quintillion kilograms of force. Soul, 6,000 billion Gai. Secondary Profession Grand Master, 10 types 17th rank, mid-grade, 05,000 Jing, legendary level. Skill, Weapon Master Triple Dao Rule, 15 times, 010 trillion. Law, 3000 limit domain, 480 types. Talent, Undying Divine Body Immortal level, Combat Power 5000%, Human Emperor Body Heaven Dao level, Blessing 10 billion, Void Dragon Body Immortal level, Physical Body 2048, Creation Power 17th rank Supreme, 2999 types. Cultivation Method, Will of the Gods Heaven Dao level, 17th rank Shattered 50,000 times, Demon God Nirvana 17th rank lower grade, Frenzied Absorption 17th rank lower grade, Law of Heaven and Earth 17th rank middle grade, 1000 times, Creation Divine Scripture 18th rank lower grade, Consciousness Fission 17th rank lower grade, 5000 times. Martial Techniques, Death Spear Technique 17th rank middle grade, 400 times, World Destroying Light 17th rank lower grade, 300 times, Teleportation 17th rank lower grade, 200 times, Heaven Shaking True Spring 17th rank. A determined light flickered in Ling Xiao's eyes. In future battles, he would face all challenges with an invincible posture. Lower grade Demonic Energy, 200 times amplification. Demonic Martial Analysis, 17th rank middle grade, 400 times enhancement. Soul Dance, 15th rank lower grade, 300 times burst. Dark Divine Palm, 16th rank middle grade, 400 times power. Picking Chrysanthemums by the Eastern Fence, 15th rank lower grade, 400 times amplification. Falling Flowers Early, 14th rank lower grade, 300 times attack. Prajnaparamita Sutra, 14th rank peak, 500 times damage. Equipment, Black Heaven Battle Armor 17th rank, mid-grade, Black Heaven Demon Spear 17th rank, mid-grade, Angel Wings 17th rank, low-grade, Black Star Stone King Unknown, above 17th rank, Demon Subduing Wave 16th rank, mid-grade, Soul Summoning Sail 17th rank, low-grade, Ing Tian Spirit 17th rank, peak, Vajra Bracelet 15th rank, low-grade, Natural Will 16th rank, high-grade, Martial Soul Chariot 15th rank, high-grade, Buddha Light. Pearl 17th rank, high grade, Mental Gold Ingot 16th rank, peak, Lihua Jade Purifying Bottle 15th rank, high grade, Glazed Forest Light Beginning 16th rank, mid grade, Jadeite Spirit Gathering Bowl 17th rank, low grade, Floating Light Music Theory Brocade 15th rank, mid grade, Lansong Jade Bone Fan 17th rank, mid grade, Hibiscus Jade Stone 17th rank, high grade, Jade Butterfly Ancient Gold Seal 17th rank, mid grade, Hemlock Wood Physical. System Cultivation Method, Neat Floss Top 17th rank, high grade, rapidly provides great power when weak, Echo Ring 17th rank, high grade, can simulate the pressure of cultivators 2 realms higher, Soul Pavilion 17th rank, high grade. Physical Combat Power, Beyond Immortal Realm, 3rd layer. Ultimate Combat Power, Beyond Immortal Realm, 4th layer. He stared at the strength data on the screen, a satisfied smile appearing at the corner of his mouth, then quickly withdrew the attribute panel. Now, it was time to act. He returned to the small world inside the spatial barrier. Ling Bai was still asleep and unresponsive. Gently unlocking the barrier, Ling Bai remained lying quietly. He reached out to stroke the top of Ling Bai's head, speaking softly, "Master will be back soon to save you." Resurrection must be done carefully. Ling Xiao did not rush to take Ling Bai away. This small world was the safest refuge. If Ling Xiao was unwilling, no one could shake it even a bit. He mobilized the elemental power within his body, destructive element, ruin element, and reincarnation element, fusing them into a surging life energy aura. First, he injected subtle energy into Ling Bai's body, then filled the surrounding environment with a dense aura. Within the 60 square meter spatial barrier, the air was sealed, spiritual power did not leak out, and life energy filled the space. Ling Bai had lain still too long. His body was stiff and could not withstand a sudden surge of strong energy.
Ling Xiao adopted the boiling a frog in warm water strategy, slowly injecting spiritual power while simultaneously saturating the external life energy. Progressing both inside and out, he awakened bodily vitality and activated internal energy.
Ling Bai's consciousness had not yet awakened. Ling Xiao dared not wake him recklessly. If Ling Bai awoke confused and mentally tense, he could easily fall into demonic madness.
At peak cultivation, recovery required enormous energy and time, beyond ordinary people's reach. But he had Ling Xiao, who could shield him from the storm and guard him through the abyss of unconsciousness. The task ahead seemed simple, yet Ling Xiao's forehead was sweating, his heart tense. It was not a lack of ability, but fear of the unexpected. Since his disciple became his apprentice, he regarded him as a brother, surpassing blood ties. Because of this, he rarely accepted disciples. If he could not guarantee absolute safety, he would rather not be a master. Although Ling Daoxi was his disciple, he did not covet the master-disciple title. Ling Daoxi called him master, but he never responded, instead reminding each other not to be constrained.
If now Ling Bai. If Yu Hong were resurrected, Ling Daoxi would surely be overjoyed. After all, Ling Daoxi had personally raised both of them. From his perspective, taking Ling Bai and Yu Hong as masters was the ideal choice. Ling Xiao knew clearly that even if he resurrected Yu Hong and Ling Bai, they would not roam the martial world with him. He was used to traveling alone, disliking dragging family along. Yu Hong and Ling Bai were even more rooted in this land, long accustomed to a fixed life rhythm, deeply attached to their homeland. Those people they once protected, whether they were extinct, migrated, or hidden behind history, Ling Xiao could not ascertain.
In this situation, he judged that the two were more likely to choose to stay with Ling Daoxi and jointly protect this land. This place had prospered and remained stable under their hands for hundreds of years, and their feelings were deep. Ling Xiao did not want to bind his disciples and would not force them to wander with him. They each had their own ideals and paths, and Ling Xiao would fully support them in pursuing their dreams. After all, the responsibilities and pursuits he bore far exceeded those of ordinary people, destined to be a wandering traveler who would not stay in one place for long. For Yu Hong and Ling Bai, this land rich in spiritual power and dominated by humans was their foundation. The people here worshipped them devoutly, with countless powerful believers. As long as they returned, they could once again become gods on this land. The abundant advanced cultivation techniques and resources surpassed those of the universe Ling Xiao once belonged to, offering greater opportunities for transcendence and immortality, with a future full of limitless brightness. Ling Xiao continued to infuse spiritual power, and Ling Bai's body had almost fully recovered. The consumption was only about half of the elemental power in his body, making the next steps extremely easy. He relaxed but remained focused. After all, if not for his disciple, who else would care? He released his divine sense, scanning every corner of Ling Bai's body meticulously from the inside out, afraid of missing even a trace of injury. After careful repair and countless infusions of spiritual power, Ling Bai's body was not only fully restored but had subtly improved by several levels. After confirming the body was safe, Ling Xiao withdrew the elemental power and then mobilized the spiritual domain. He condensed spiritual energy into solid lines and slowly infused them into Ling Bai's body. Checking the mental pressure, although weak, it was intact with no irreversible damage, and the repair was progressing smoothly. Yu Hong's soul, however, was shattered, scattered like fragments. Ling Xiao's confinement and connection barely kept the fragments together, but they were extremely fragile, which pained him deeply. He silently resolved to restore Yu Hong as soon as possible. Withdrawing his spiritual energy, Ling Xiao released a large amount of spiritual power into the air to prepare for subsequent resurrection and infiltration. Ling Bai would absorb energy from this, but the initial awakening still required Ling Xiao's personal intervention. He condensed the purest spiritual essence and carefully infused it into Ling Bai's mind. His fingertips lightly touched the brow, and the spiritual energy flowed like water into the body, gathering into the 757 formation. The spiritual power consciously moved, assisting in awakening the dormant life. His spiritual power surged suddenly, instantly awakening the cultivation path he had once traveled. His meridians were pierced open as if by a sharp sword, smooth and unobstructed. His body quickly entered a cultivation state without a long recovery, as if reborn. This kind of control over spiritual power was beyond ordinary people. Even the peak immortal strongmen here could not achieve such delicate mastery. Only Ling Xiao possessed such extraordinary skill. If someone else guarded Ling Bai, such treatment would be impossible. Those strong figures waiting at Ling Xiao's door to become his disciples would surely be envious and jealous if they knew this secret. Two who had easily become Ling Xiao's disciples were now enjoying such comprehensive care, a privilege that outsiders could only sigh over. Ling Xiao acted entirely according to his will, taking whoever he wanted as disciples. Even if the person was a beggar on the street, as long as he liked them, he would not hesitate to accept them as disciples. Conversely, even if someone was a high-ranking noble, he would never waver. On the path of cultivation, he had painstakingly pursued the highest freedom to do what he wanted without being controlled by anyone. Ling Xiao's goal was this true great freedom. After some effort, Ling Bai's eyelids twitched lightly, and his consciousness began to awaken. His breathing gradually steadied, and his chest rose and fell more deeply. The next moment, he opened his eyes and looked blankly at the ceiling. Seeing this, Ling Xiao stopped what he was doing, walked to his side, and asked with concern, "How do you feel?" Ling Bai's nervous expression slowly faded, and seeing Ling Xiao's familiar face, he felt at ease. He asked softly, "Where is this?" Ling Xiao smiled reassuringly, "Don't be nervous. This is the universe where you once lived for over 100 years. You were unconscious for a long time and have now come to an era tens of millions of years later. Unfortunately, I don't know how the worlds you protected ended up." Ling Bai lowered his brows in silence, his mood heavy. Ling Xiao understood his feelings, but he did not press further. The world is unpredictable, joys and sorrows, meetings and partings are all destined by the heavens. He looked up and asked, "How is senior sister?" Ling Xiao shook his head. Senior sister's soul is severely shattered, with level 4.8 spiritual fragments scattered everywhere. I am not confident I can restore her to her peak state yet. We must wait for a more reliable method before attempting to awaken her. She is currently sealed within your spiritual world. There is one more thing, Ling Xiao said seriously, you must now train your spiritual power with me to elevate your spiritual realm. This will not only strengthen your abilities but also accelerate senior sister's recovery. Though it was early, and Ling Bai had just awakened, weak and unwilling to move, he answered firmly, "All right, I will work hard to train with Master." Ling Xiao looked at him, a warm feeling rising in his heart. These two disciples, perhaps average in talent, were the ones who understood him best. They supported him unconditionally, never doubting. This sincerity was what Ling Xiao longed for. For this reason, he no longer wished to take in those peerless prodigies as disciples. Those people had limitless futures but lacked true sincerity and could not offer him spiritual comfort. He only wanted a few close family members, those raised together since childhood, rescued in times of danger, who treated each other sincerely and helped one another. He was already strong enough, needing no more helpers, only this bond of kinship. Ling Xiao patted Ling Bai on the shoulder, "Rest well. I will teach you wholeheartedly. You will become the strongest person in this world and achieve all your dreams. I promise, as long as senior sister has not recovered, I will never leave. Even if danger is everywhere, I will set up perfect defenses and swear to protect you all to the death." You all. The two looked at each other, words on the tip of their tongues but hard to say. The long separation between master and disciple had built up emotions like a volcano about to erupt, yet with no outlet. The air was heavy. Ling Xiao was the first to stand, walking out of the small world with determined steps. Before leaving, he said coldly, "You are not fully recovered yet. The outside is extremely dangerous, this is your sanctuary." He left behind a large number of spiritual cultivation manuals and treasures he had obtained when resurrecting from the spiritual body. "I will return in a few hours," his voice steady, "you must use the time to recover and not slack off even a bit." Outside, the wind and clouds shifted. The strong were everywhere, coveting everything they had: treasures, power, manuals. Once they let their guard down, it would be a disaster from which there was no return. Countless wolf-like enemies would pounce instantly, tearing them to pieces. Only the strong could survive in this brutal world and enjoy glory. The weak could only be trampled underfoot and trampled upon. Ling Xiao and his disciples deeply understood this harsh truth. Past humiliations had forged their current resilience. He looked at Ling Bai, waves of emotion stirring deep inside. The feelings between master and disciple were complex and hard to unravel, but all had to be kept in the heart. Taking a deep breath, he sat cross-legged and entered cultivation. This recovery was far more difficult than usual. On ordinary days, he relied on external spiritual energy to replenish himself. But this time, he exhausted his own primordial power to help Ling Bai repair his soul and body. Primordial power is pure but extremely sparse. Every bit of consumption wears down his vital energy and essence. But for his disciple, he harbors no regrets. Beside him, a vortex churned, like a miniature black hole, frantically drawing in surrounding spiritual energy and elemental forces. The real black hole was himself. Space trembled as all spiritual power instantly converged into his body. Fortunately, this place had long been desolate and protected by barriers. He said otherwise, a powerful being would have detected it by now.
A long mist exhilaration surged through his heart as he felt the spiritual energy crashing through his body like a torrent. A series of prompt sounds rang in his ears, as if heralding a victorious anthem for his cultivation. Ding! Cultivated for 1 minute, blood and chi power increased by 65,678.4 trillion quadrillions, currently merging with mental spiritual power. Ding! Fusion complete. Ding! Spiritual energy power increased by 65,678.4 trillion quadrillions, currently merging with mental spiritual power. Ding! Fusion complete. Each prompt was crisp and clear, as if foretelling the rapid ascent of his power. He closed his eyes and focused the spiritual energy within surge like a sleeping giant awakening, ready to shatter heaven and earth once more. Ling Xiao's cultivation speed soared rapidly. Every second, a prompt sounded in his ear, precisely guiding his progress. These prompts were carefully selected by him, not too frequent, not too sparse like a brisk rhythm of music, keeping his mind highly focused and his mood peaceful. Just as he was immersed in cultivation, suddenly a small spirit flew out from his spiritual realm, circling him rapidly 3 times, breaking his concentration. The little spirit anxiously shouted, "Master, the person you placed in the spiritual realm said he urgently wants to see you. I thought he was too troublesome coming out, so I came to notify you. If you wish, you can go in and see him." Ling Xiao furrowed his brows, suspicion rising in his heart. He had just parted from Ling Bai not long ago and had just seen him. Why was there something else now? The little spirit said that if it hadn't stopped him, the person would have appeared in person already, clearly indicating a major event was imminent. Without hesitation, his figure flashed, instantly entering the spiritual realm. There, Ling Bai sat solemnly by the bedside, his expression grave, obviously having waited a long time. Ling Xiao asked, "What do you need from me?" Ling Bai looked up, his gaze firm. "There are things I haven't told you. Now is the time." Ling Zhao's heart jolted, suspicion hard to hide. "We just parted not long ago, and there are still secrets?" He stood quietly, signaling him to continue. Ling Bai's voice was low. "A long time ago, I discovered I had a hidden ability to vaguely see fragments of the future. I can't control it, it's like a passive talent. Whenever I see the future, my eyes reveal the chain of consequences that follow." Ling Zhao's expression grew serious, immediately realizing this was no trivial matter. The power hidden in the element of time was indeed extraordinary. He sighed, "A talent with time attributes is truly unique. Even after all my cultivation, I have never glimpsed the future." He asked, "Why tell me only now? Is it because it concerns me? Or have you seen a crisis I will face?" Ling Bai was silent for a moment, his eyes sharp. "Master is indeed clever. Actually, this matter is not absolutely urgent. I can only see vague images and cannot determine specific details. For example, I once saw senior sister trapped amidst thousands of troops. That was when we were under siege, but there was also a good omen. Earlier still, before we entered this universe, senior sister and I stood in the center of a crowd, the atmosphere heavy. But when it actually happened, it was just an ordinary ancestral ritual, peaceful and uneventful. So, we cannot judge fortune or misfortune based solely on the images. But we should remain vigilant and guard against surprises." Ling Xiao nodded, "Understood. So what do you see now?" Ling Bai sighed deeply. "I see you standing in a dazzling light, surrounded by nothing, the brightness blinding, almost causing me to lose my sight." These words plunged Ling Xiao into thought. Alone in the light, neither invincible nor accompanied, yet it was a solemn and grand scene, far from everyday trivialities. He furrowed his brows, trying to piece together clues but to no avail, and could only nod. "I understand. I will be more cautious." Ling Bai smiled bitterly. "That puts my mind at ease." Behind the smile, however, lay deep helplessness and fatigue, as if his still recovering body bore a heavy burden. Ling Xiao faintly felt that he was still hiding something from him. He kept his worries deep inside, not letting anyone know, bearing all the sorrow alone. Ling Xiao spoke, his voice firm and strong. "If there is anything, just tell me directly. Don't be afraid, no matter how difficult it is, I will stand by your side and help you hold up the sky. I am your eternal master, always trustworthy." These words fell like a heavy hammer. A flicker of hesitation appeared in Ling Bai's eyes, but in the end, he shook his head. "It's nothing." Seeing this, Ling Xiao understood that he wouldn't easily reveal his true feelings, so he simply stopped asking. Ling Bai lowered his head and closed his eyes, his voice weak. "Master, you should go back first. I'm a bit tired and want to sleep a little longer." Looking at his exhausted appearance, Ling Xiao's heart tightened, and he said softly, "Rest well. Put cultivation aside for now, and resume when you've fully recovered." After speaking, Ling Xiao withdrew from his little world and returned to reality. He pondered in his heart, what place could have only a blinding white light, so intense that even peak immortal experts find it hard to look at? There was no one else around. What kind of place was this? He summoned the virtual universe and the system, urgently asking, do you know of any place where only one person can enter, and it emits such a strong white light that even top experts cannot endure it?
The system and virtual universe denied in unison, saying they had never heard of such a place. Ling Xiao frowned deeply, stumped by the difficult question. Even his proud golden finger was powerless. He had to be extra cautious. What was even harder was that Ling Bai could only warn him that he would encounter it in the future, but could not say when or where. This left Ling Xiao confused, unable to keep his nerves constantly taut. He sighed and decided to relax himself first, follow his heart, and just have a baseline in mind to respond when the time came. He sat down again, closed his eyes to cultivate, letting the immersed power dilute the anxiety in his heart. The higher his cultivation, the more addicted Ling Xiao became to it. Like a top student who loves studying more as they excel, he found endless joy in cultivation. Those profound and mysterious heavenly laws seemed like doors opening to a new world. He felt as if he were in a fairyland, overlooking all living beings, peering into the origins of all things. This feeling made him forget his troubles and focus on improving his strength. He wanted to become stronger, protect more lives, and complete more missions. More than 3 hours passed, and he felt his spirit and physical strength fully restored to their peak. He slowly opened his eyes. Suddenly, a magnified version of a little spirit appeared before him, so close that he almost reflexively slapped it away. Holding back, Ling Xiao frowned and asked, "Why are you so close? Speak directly." The little spirit chuckled, "Master, you're finally awake. I just felt your aura was too strong while you were cultivating, and I admired it a bit." Ling Xiao smiled slightly, not taking the flattery to heart. "Say what you want directly, don't beat around the bush." The little spirit smiled even sweeter. "Nothing much, just wanted to keep you company. You've been too tired lately and need to rest. Little Master has consumed a lot of spiritual power and energy these past few days. If you don't rest properly, you might harm your body." The little spirit didn't know Ling Xiao's extraordinary constitution, and Ling Xiao hadn't told him that he was almost immortal, so the little spirit couldn't understand just how strong he really was. Although he had never seen Ling Xiao seriously injured, he still believed that even the strong were human and shouldn't overexert themselves. He hoped Ling Xiao could pause, enjoy life, and watch the sunrise and sunset, the clouds rolling and unfolding. Ling Xiao opened his eyes, looked at the little spirit, smiled silently, gently patted its head, and quietly encouraged it. Sure enough, having such companionship nearby, no matter how tired he was, added a warmth and strength to his heart. Having a companion brought more warmth to life. But he did not stop his cultivation. He remained determined and calm. He said to the little spirit, "Don't worry, I have a unique secret technique and will never harm my body. Trust me, with my resilient physique and calm judgment, I will never fall into recklessness." Hearing this, the little spirit finally relaxed. Ling Xiao waved his hand. "You go back to the small world first, I need to continue cultivating." The little spirit returned to the small world but was surprised to see another person sitting there, focused on cultivation. He blinked and thought, where there is a master, there must be a disciple. The two cultivated almost to madness, doing nothing but cultivation. Ling Bai teased from the side, suddenly opening his eyes and sighing, "Master's secret manual is still too obscure." He studied repeatedly but never managed to get started, and couldn't help but wonder, was he too stupid, failing to meet his master's expectations? He opened another volume of secret manuals, continued to chant silently, and pondered carefully. The little spirit came closer, listening intently to Ling Bai's insights, and couldn't help but shake its head. "If you cultivate like this, you won't see results even after hundreds of years." Ling Bai, standing nearby, was stunned upon hearing this. Disappointment surged in his heart. He looked up and asked, "Then how should I cultivate?" At these words, the little spirit was deeply moved. For hundreds of years, it had been imprisoned in the secret realm, ignored by all. Its two previous masters were both incredibly powerful and needed to focus on cultivation, so it dared not disturb them. Now, finally someone was asking it questions, as if a sealed box of words had been opened, and words flowed like a spring. Every piece of advice it gave was incredibly precise, hitting the core, causing Ling Bai to have continuous epiphanies. Ling Bai sighed. Indeed, it was the master's spiritual pet, with extraordinary strength. Meeting the master was the greatest fortune of his life, and he now held a bit more respect for the little spirit before him. There are always people stronger than oneself, and one must never judge by appearances. The little spirit continued, "Spiritual energy cultivation is completely different from other methods. If you keep using old experiences to cultivate, you'll only hit a wall. To break through, you must forget past basic techniques and establish a brand new method suited to yourself. Otherwise, you will never achieve results.
But you have excellent talent, with an innate strong soul.
Moreover, your spirit was once severely injured and then repaired, going through hardships that give you a far deeper understanding of spiritual energy than ordinary people. With this talent, as long as you change your old habits, small success can be expected in a short time. The little spirit's words made Ling Bai no longer see it as just a spiritual pet, but as another mentor. He nodded solemnly. This time, I will work hard at cultivation.
The little spirit sighed, you still don't understand.
Cultivation isn't about being more diligent, but about comprehension and experience.
Don't just focus on diligence, even the small things in ordinary life can bring enlightenment.
After saying this, it took away several manuals from Ling Bai's hands and handed him a few new books annotated by itself.
I've studied for a long time, and you are more suited to these.
The previous manuals have a gentle cultivation process, seemingly suitable for beginners, but actually long and delicate, requiring a peaceful state of mind.
You think back and forth, unable to comprehend, which shows your heart is not peaceful, only your appearance is calm.
Ling Bai was shocked in his heart, never expecting the little spirit before him to be able to see through people's hearts. Indeed, he was not as calm as his master thought. The master had not spent much time with them. Although he spanned several tens of epochs, they had only been together for a few days. The master always appeared at critical moments. His usual appearance had never been seen by the master, not only by him, but also by his senior sister.
They were no longer the naive children of memory.
Now, they had become overlords of a region, ruling the four directions, revered by the people like gods. The innocence of the past had long been sharpened by power struggles and bloodshed. They used all their strength to guard their territory, as formidable as war gods. Peaceful rulers lacked deterrence and could not suppress the heroes from all directions or distant enemies. The bloodthirsty genes deep within had long since awakened. Only when facing their master would they hide their sharpness and reveal the last traces of their innocence. It was precisely because of this that the master misunderstood and bestowed upon them this basic cultivation method. Now, the little spirit saw through everything and helped him adjust his cultivation method, which was undoubtedly the best choice. The little spirit still retained its childlike nature. Its guidance was just a whim, and after teaching, it turned away to play, without worrying about what came next. Ling Bai did not stop at either. After all, there were only the two of them in this small world, and he was in no hurry. When he needed to seek advice in the future, he believed that whether it was the master or this little spirit, they would do their utmost to assist. The master and disciple, one internal and one external, cultivated freely in the small world as time passed, the sun setting and the moon rising. In recent days, Ling Xiao was extremely exhausted, having gone without sleep for a long time. Tonight, he decided to sleep through completely to relax his body and mind. But before he could fully relax, the system suddenly sounded, ding. Unknown energy detected approaching from the southeast corner. Ling Xiao frowned deeply, rubbed his temples, and smiled bitterly. Heaven 1T, let me have peace no matter where I go, I can't find quiet.
He immediately became alert.
The energy was on par with his own and was definitely not an ordinary passerby. Ling Xiao almost didn't need to investigate to know that such clear and powerful energy was definitely coming for him. He calmly analyzed in his heart. First, if it were a high-level being, they wouldn't act lightly usually, a single word would have someone else handle it. Second, the energy's direction was very clear. Though he cultivated quietly, he couldn't hide his nature, and strong beings would always see through it. Third, the system's intelligence judged the opponent's speed and momentum, and with all three conditions met,
it was undoubtedly an enemy.
Unwilling to sit and wait for death, Ling Xiao quickly laid down a spell on himself to conceal his figure and quietly left. He stopped near the roadside to observe, and the system countdown sounded. Unknown energy mass will arrive within 30 seconds. Countdown begins.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
A glow streaked past without stopping, quickly heading toward Ling Xiao's original residence. Obviously, his concealment technique was extremely skillful. Even such a strong being did not notice he had left.
Unwilling to move frequently, he planned to return to that stable residence to avoid leaving traces.
After confirming the opponent's energy, skills, and speed, Ling Xiao dispelled the invisibility cloak, intending to lure the enemy back. Sure enough, a few seconds later, the opponent turned around and approached him, noticeably slowing down as if having sensed his intention.
2 seconds later, a person stood steadily in front of Ling Xiao.
Ling Xiao looked carefully, familiar but unable to recall where he had seen him before.
The man spoke coldly. Are you the one who injured my father, leaving him unconscious until now?
This statement left Ling Xiao confused. Reflecting on recent times, there had been no intense conflicts, and doubts began to rise in his heart. In this world, the only one who could possibly match was that big black python. But given the opponent's strength, this shouldn't be the case. Ling Xiao's gaze sharpened as he stared at the man before him, finally recognizing that familiar cold aura that was the dark sharpness unique to cold-blooded animals. Sure enough, he was the biological child of the big black python. One glance could tell they shared the same bloodline. Ling Bai had said the big black python had lived countless years. If he really had a son, how strong would this son's cultivation be? To maintain such a youthful appearance? The big black python's cultivation was unfathomably deep, and his son should be equally formidable. But this man had no reputation at all, which was illogical. Ling Xiao knew that someone as intelligent and insightful as Ling Bai would never hide any important secrets if there were any around the great black python. The fact that there was no contact now meant that this person was either mediocre in strength or extremely low-key, deliberately hiding their identity. He leaned more towards the latter. After all, humans are the dominant species in this world. Unless the great black python was extraordinarily powerful, it would not show itself easily. As the son of the great black python, his father must have made arrangements to infiltrate the human world, live as a human, secretly train, and accumulate strength. When strong enough in the future, he could penetrate human society and serve his father. This plan was very clever. From the looks of it, the plan was going extremely smoothly, and the father-son relationship was good. Even the great black python himself did not dare to appear easily, yet his son impulsively came to avenge him. This kid was a bit foolishly impulsive. He didn't consider that even his father was suffering losses here. What use would his arrival be? It was just that this kid had a smooth path and astonishing talent, but had never encountered a true expert. His father suffered a great defeat, yet he only blamed Ling Xiao for using underhanded tricks, refusing to admit his own inferiority. Ling Xiao thought back meeting such a person was indeed rare. The last time they met was in the demon clan, where he was ultimately slain together with him. He hesitated not at all and prepared to teach the other a lesson again. The opponent raised his hand, gathering powerful energy, and suddenly struck fiercely at Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao stood firm, calmly sensing the pressure carried by the attack. Indeed, you're not as good as your old man, but the gap is significant. What courage do you have to challenge me? This also proved that children should not be spoiled. They must learn humility. Otherwise, it would be like now, underestimating the enemy and being overconfident. Ling Xiao raised his hand and easily blocked the opponent's attack. The remaining spiritual power struck the opponent's cheek like a sudden storm, leaving a deep scar. To be honest, this person's realm has reached the peak of immortality, and his spiritual power accumulation is not lacking. However, his practical combat experience is insufficient. He has never set foot on a truly brutal battlefield, nor witnessed much bloodshed. Usually, he kills enemies by crushing the weak or having helpers do the work, never really fighting seriously. The lack of various experiences has led to today's miserable situation of having no resistance. Ling Xiao treated the sandbag delivered to him as practice. The man's face was severely injured, his eyes showing disbelief, then he spat blood all over the ground. Although Ling Xiao only used 40% of his strength in this move, it directly hit the lungs, causing the opponent intense pain when breathing. The facial wound was just a superficial injury, not important, but the humiliation of being slapped in the face made him fully realize the gap in strength. However, the opponent completely misunderstood this painstaking effort, only feeling greatly insulted. He had never suffered such humiliation before. Everyone respected him greatly. Since he began cultivating, he was recognized as a genius, always first in everything. He had never seen such an expression before. Anger surged in his heart, unable to bear the defeat. Ling Xiao shook his head helplessly. This person was ridiculously foolish. His father was clearly a local tyrant, so how did he raise such a son? In this way, he was not deliberately ruthless, nor could he say he was bullying a newcomer. As the opponent lunged over, Ling Xiao raised his hand, and a spatial barrier suddenly appeared before him. The man didn't even see Ling Xiao's move clearly before being forcibly stopped mid-air. He refused to believe it and tried to attack again, only to find himself trapped in a small enclosed space, about 1 cubic meter in size, unable to stretch his body at all. Panic surged through his heart in an instant. He twisted his body frantically, probing the boundaries of the space, but no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't move. The space kept shrinking, like an invisible cage locking him tightly inside. His movements grew stiffer and stiffer, his spiritual power seemingly cut off, unable to absorb any energy. Those domineering wide-range moves couldn't be unleashed here at all. They would only harm himself. He understood that this was not a place for fighting, nor was he foolish enough to self-destruct his techniques. Ling Xiao spoke coldly. Do you know? I've recently become obsessed with collecting little pets. The few I used to keep have all been given away or ran off, and now I only have one little spirit by my side. Strictly speaking, that's a companion, not a pet.
Right now, I happen to be missing a pet. Your true form is a snake, isn't it?
Although I don't particularly like snakes, your strength is so formidable that taking you in wouldn't be a loss. The man's face suddenly changed, his fear impossible to hide. In all his life, no one had ever seen through his identity, and no one had dared to say they wanted to take him as a spirit beast. What arrogance! But now, he had no choice but to believe it. He deeply felt Ling Xiao's power and began to regret his earlier choice. Even his father had suffered losses under Ling Xiao's hand, and yet he still dared to provoke him? But it was all too late. The space kept shrinking smaller and smaller, making even breathing difficult. He understood the only way out but was afraid to take that step, because once he transformed, there would be no turning back. In the end, to survive, he compromised and reverted to his true form, a giant python. After transforming, his freedom increased greatly. His body could shrink to an extremely small size, adapting to the narrow space. Ling Xiao looked at the black snake in the cage and smiled. 760. You were arrogant and domineering in human form, but your true form is small and agile. With such a good talent, I don't know why you insisted on coming to me. Since fate has brought us together, from now on, you'll come with me. Then, he quietly recited a familiar control spell, the mother curse taking effect, and carved a mark inside the other's body. Once this mark is formed, the master-slave relationship is established, never to be separated. The one under the spell cannot harm Ling Xiao. If any harmful thoughts arise in their mind, they will feel intense pain and may even start to self-harm. The contract was instantly formed. The snake struggled wildly, banging its head against the spatial barrier, its blood-red eyes fixed tightly on Ling Xiao. Its body twisted and convulsed uncontrollably, the pain obvious. Ling Xiao saw that the other party had just tried to harm him, so the maternal curse immediately activated the punishment. He smiled faintly. Be good, stop daydreaming. You are my little pet now, I'll call you Xiao Hei Little Black. He didn't care about the other's real name at all. After all, the little spirits from the past didn't have so many entanglements. That person was obedient and cute, without a trace of scheming, so Ling Xiao didn't mind letting him use his real name. But this person before him was full of ambition and hatred in his eyes, like a sharp knife pointed straight at him. If it weren't for the proper suppression of the mother-child talisman, he would have already launched a sneak attack. At this moment, what Ling Xiao needed to do was to strip him of his dignity and make him understand he no longer had the right to be proud, not even worthy of having a name. Xiao Hei, what a name, like a little dog obediently wagging its tail. From now on, he was this little dog, never allowed to bark at his master, or the consequences would be even more severe. The person before him convulsed violently, enduring unbearable pain for a long time. Ling Xiao frowned slightly, surprised by his resilience. The spirit pets he had tamed before, as long as they had some intelligence and were punished, would quickly be subdued, and the punishment would end quickly. Even the once proud dragon ancestor had never held out like this, allowing himself to suffer needlessly. The person in front of him was so stubborn it was almost laughable. Ling Xiao thought to himself, how did that big black python end up with such a son? Their personalities and appearances were completely different, and even the son's intelligence was much lower. It seemed that sending him into human society to infiltrate from a young age was indeed a wrong decision. He just hoped that when the loving father woke up, he wouldn't be too angry. After about 5 minutes, Ling Xiao gently asked, Modern, are you willing to acknowledge me as your master now? The black snake remained silent but responded with violent writhing and trembling. Ling Xiao sneered, you little guy, not very smart, but really stubborn. You'd rather endure pain than bow down and be just a pet. He didn't want to pretend to obey and escape under cover, but the mother-son talisman was too powerful. It could directly read thoughts and couldn't be fooled. Whenever rebellious thoughts arose, punishment came down mercilessly. Another round of electric shocks, and the black snake finally fainted. Ling Xiao shook his head. Why bother making such a fuss? He casually opened the space barrier, took the unconscious black snake back to the small world, and tossed him to the little spirit. Here's a new companion for you, have fun. The black snake's spiritual power was sealed, and his injuries were severe. He couldn't even defeat the little spirit. Ling Xiao felt safe letting him face the little spirit and Ling Bai. Seeing the snake's condition, Ling Bai sensed trouble. It probably wasn't as harmonious as Ling Xiao had said. The little spirit, however, was naive. Seeing the weak black snake, its eyes moistened, and it urgently said it wanted to heal him and have him wake up to play together. Ling Xiao's mouth twitched slightly but did not stop it. Ling Bai sat quietly nearby, and only after the little spirit took the black snake away did he speak. Master, you must be careful about what I told you earlier. Recently, I saw a clearer vision. That pure white space changed, it was stained with color, but you were still the only one inside. Ling Zhao's expression grew serious, as if caught in a dilemma.
But I couldn't see more. I felt very powerless. Ling Xiao rubbed Ling Bai's head. You've done very well. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have had any information at all. Back then, I could only grope forward in the dark. The clues you gave might become the key. When the time comes, I must thank you properly. Both were strong warriors who had weathered storms, reunited after a long separation yet still strangers. Busy as they were, they spoke little. Ling Xiao left the small world, not disturbing Ling Bai's cultivation. Ling Bai also tacitly agreed, and the two each focused on their own cultivation. At this moment, the little spirit was carefully treating the black snake, whose injuries were indeed severe. The little spirit looked at the black snake, eyes full of pity. The only companion from now on caused a pang of pain in his heart. He was not very sensitive to the spiritual energy on others, especially since the little black snake had been lurking here for many years, skilled at hiding its own information and very difficult to detect. Naturally, the little spirit could not see any flaw in him and silently took responsibility for his care. Both parties performed their duties diligently and tirelessly. The fastest progress was on the little spirit's side. Although the little black snake was seriously injured, it had a deep foundation and considerable cultivation, recovering at an astonishing speed. With the help of the little spirit, a natural spiritual creature, and the support of profound cultivation techniques, the recovery speed was shocking. Soon, the little black snake opened its eyes. Flying around before him was an alien creature he had never seen before. Though unfamiliar in appearance, it was unexpectedly cute, temporarily dispelling his fear. The little spirit immediately asked, "You're awake? How do you feel? Are you the new little pet the master raised? From now on, we're good friends, playing together and fighting alongside the master." As soon as the words fell, the air suddenly stiffened. The other party stared coldly at him, with a strange expression. He sensed the atmosphere was wrong and became secretly alert. After a moment, the little black snake spat coldly, "You and that dog master will die by my hand sooner or later." Immediately after, it convulsed violently, suffering unbearable pain as if undergoing extreme torture. The little spirit watched the scene, puzzled, but soon understood this person had a bad relationship with the master, even an enemy. After the master's defeat, he was taken in as a pet. Realizing this, the little spirit's expression changed drastically. Though wanting to befriend him, he favored the master more than this person. The master cared for him meticulously and helped him improve his realm. This person contributed nothing. Now that he had saved him from danger, instead of gratitude, he insulted the master. How could the little spirit tolerate that? He wanted to leave. The little black snake still convulsed painfully, but this time the little spirit had no heart to pity, only quietly observed. Watching him lonely and miserable, tears slipped down his face. He had finally gotten the master but could not always be by his side. Now he had another companion, but it was the master's enemy. Feeling increasingly wronged, tears fell like rain. He sat down beside Ling Bai, who was cultivating, still trembling uncontrollably. The movement startled Ling Bai awake. Opening his eyes, he saw him tearful and gently asked, "What is wrong with you?" Ling Bai liked the little spirit, not only because he was his master's spiritual pet but also because he had helped him a lot. With a gentle temperament and acute appearance, he had long regarded him as an equal partner rather than a pet. Seeing the little spirit tear up in grievance, he naturally comforted him. The little spirit sobbed, saying, "It's nothing, you just keep cultivating." The more he spoke, the more Ling Bai felt he couldn't ignore it. He recalled the reaction of the little black snake just now, understood where the problem lay, and got up to deal with it. In an instant, Ling Bai flashed to the little black snake's side. The little black snake, exhausted in body and mind from punishment, collapsed on the ground, unable to even speak. Seeing the visitor weak and frail, pale-faced, dressed elegantly, looking coldly and dismissively without a glance, then closing his eyes and ignoring him. Ling Bai did not get angry. Instead, he angered the little spirit. In the little spirit's eyes, Ling Bai was Ling Xiao's disciple, obviously formidable in strength. But, for a period of time, Ling Bai had always been by his side, the two of them knowing and accompanying each other in the small world. He had helped him do many things he had never touched before and often brought small gifts, long since becoming his best friend. Unexpectedly, he was treated so disdainfully by Ling Bai. The little black snake was so furious he was about to explode. He was powerless to fight back or avenge Ling Bai, only able to hold his breath, feeling wronged and angry, even regretting letting Ling Bai know about this matter. Ling Bai, however, remained silent. Over the years, he had accumulated countless experiences of being looked down upon because of his appearance. If he got angry every time, he would have been driven to death long ago. But he knew clearly that the only real way out was to make those people sincerely submit and obediently listen. The next moment, several spatial barriers suddenly flew out from Ling Bai's body, tightly trapping the little black snake. This familiar technique made the little black snake's whole body bristle. If it weren't for these barriers, he wouldn't have ended up like this. He roared and charged at the spatial barriers, but it was like hitting an iron wall, completely ineffective. The barriers didn't move an inch, no matter how much he banged his head and bled, unable to shake them at all. After a while of ramming, the little black snake finally gave up, obediently lying down, looking like someone ready to be slaughtered. Ling Bai spoke coldly, "What is your name?" The little black snake slowly answered, "Wu Yeye." Ling Bai's gaze swept over his palm, and he said indifferently, "Wu Yeye? Never heard of you. Looks like you're nothing special either." These words infuriated the little black snake. He had lurked in the human world for hundreds of years, dominating a region when young, a true favored son of heaven. He had always considered himself strong. Even after leaving his father, he had made a name for himself. Now, being treated like an unknown nobody with no ability made him glare angrily, sticking out his tongue and roaring, "Then what the hell are you?" Ling Bai sneered, "Don't care what I am. You're trapped by me now, unable to move, which proves you're not as good as me. As for the rest, don't overthink it." Although the black snake was unwilling, wanting to retort a few words, the fact was right before his eyes. Having fallen into the opponent's hands, he couldn't even struggle. He also hated Ling Xiao, the one who had turned him into his current state. Suddenly, pain struck, and his whole body tensed up. Seeing this, Ling Bai felt a warmth in his heart, knowing that his master had given him a mother-child talisman, and a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. The master is still the same as before, never allowing anyone to defile himself. Recalling the spirit beasts that the master had once given to him and his senior sister, a pang of sadness arose in his heart. Those two spirit beasts had disappeared after he and his senior sister died, probably left without a master's protection, struggling to survive in the chaotic world. Although reluctant, it was already lucky that they had accompanied them for so long. One must not be greedy. He and his senior sister were alive only because the master had risked his life to protect them back then. Thinking of this, Ling Bai's eyes softened as he said to the little black snake, "You have to believe, we are not villains. As long as you obey, we won't trouble you. Your future will only get better. If you don't cooperate, we will have to use force." Wu Yeye couldn't help but sneer coldly, "You are good people? My father was knocked unconscious by you, and you say you're good people?" Ling Bai saw through his thoughts, knowing he refused to cooperate. The next moment, Ling Bai injected destructive elements into the spatial barrier. Having once studied elemental power under the master, he was proficient in various elements. Once the destructive elements entered, deadly danger immediately arose within the space. Whenever Wu Yeye touched them, excruciating pain swept through his body like corrosion. He panicked and tried to avoid them, but Ling Bai patiently and slowly intensified the destructive elements, condensing them into a mass that gradually occupied the entire space. The small space slowly expanded, spreading outward. The spatial barrier continuously contracted, like an invisible shackle tightly binding him. No matter how much Wu Yeye dodged, he could not escape the erosion of the destructive elements. Every time those elements touched his body, the pain surged like a tide. He twisted and struggled desperately to escape, but the more he moved, the more destructive elements he came into contact with. Pain surged from all directions, like sharp blades cutting through his skin and bones, nearly suffocating him. He just wanted to escape this hellish torment, even doubting whether he could survive and get out alive. At this moment, he finally understood that Ling Xiao had actually gone easy on him, not using his full strength. Otherwise, his fate would have been several times more tragic than it was now. Although Ling Bai was quite knowledgeable about elements, he was far inferior to Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao was a once-in-a-thousand-years genius, the only one capable of integrating 3,000 kinds of elements into one body and freely creating new elements at will. He was almost like a creator descending to the mortal world. Even among those once extraordinarily gifted demon clans, no one could achieve this. They couldn't even master the legendary, long-lost time and space elements, let alone skillfully use and fuse them with other powers. Calling Ling Xiao the first person to open up heaven and earth was no exaggeration. In pain, Wu Yeye's gaze shifted to Ling Bai, completely changed. At first, he only thought this person looked kind and harmless. Now, his eyes were filled with fear, as if facing a demon crawling out of hell. Ling Bai revealed his true face, and even the little spirit beside him felt a chill. The little elf originally thought Ling Bai was a gentle-tempered, outstandingly good-looking person, soft-hearted and even somewhat weak, but unexpectedly, he hid such terrifying power. But the little elf was not frightened. Instead, he felt reassured. Someone was willing to go through fire and water for him, standing at the front line to protect him.
He stared intently at Ling Bai's figure, his eyes firm and tearless, a surge of unprecedented strength rising in his heart. He was grateful to have gained his master's favor within the formation, being treated as a partner. With his strength, he was not worthy to stand shoulder to shoulder with Ling Xiao and Ling Bai. Wu Yu fainted and woke up repeatedly, enduring torment over and over, physically and mentally exhausted, his expression increasingly weary, the fierce aura of the past completely gone. He no longer dared to act recklessly, knowing that as long as he harbored resistance, the energy within him would punish him. He had lost all capital for resistance and could only bow his head in obedience, with no other choice. But he was unwilling. He had been cherished since childhood, a prodigy envied by all. His father once told him that he was destined for greatness, to stand above thousands and become the most noble existence. His father asserted that with his talent and effort, he would soon surpass him and become the strongest in the universe. However, his glorious dream was now shattered in this confined space. He bore an eternal mark, becoming someone else's plaything, with even the thought of resistance mercilessly crushed. Despair enveloped him. He had faced life and death ordeals, fought all the way through, his strength earned by himself, and had encountered dangers far beyond ordinary people. But at this moment, the feeling of his soul being completely controlled, not even allowing a trace of resistance, was something he had never experienced. All his pride was left only as the strength to keep himself from collapsing before his enemies, unable even to express sorrow. Ling Bai looked at him in this state and stopped torturing him. He spoke coldly, "Anything else you want to say?" "Don't worry, I won to act because of your words." Wu Yu still kept his head low, silent. Ling Bai stood aside, his expression gentle and unhurried. Time passed slowly, and finally, Wu Yu sneered, full of mockery and disdain, You want me to admit defeat to you? To obediently become your lackey, lose my soul, and be controlled by you?" The fiery anger flashed in his eyes, revealing his true emotions. Ling Bai smiled slightly, his tone firm. "No, you misunderstand. You can say whatever you want, my master and I will do our best to satisfy you. In return, we ask for your loyalty to help us complete the mission." He added, "We are willing to negotiate with you only because my master is kind-hearted and dislikes oppressing the weak. He grew up in a peaceful environment and subconsciously believes in equality among all beings. Therefore, I respect his philosophy and am negotiating with you. You originally had no qualification. That said, the facts are undeniable. Wu Yeye was sealed by a talisman, his strength far inferior to the two. If Ling Xiao wanted to kill him now, no one would object in this world. The victor is king, the loser is a bandit. Once, Wu Yeye firmly believed in this rule. He grew up under harsh laws and never doubted their fairness. Now, he finally understands that this rule is ruthless and merciless. The defeated have no way out. He also knows that his failure is not due to weakness, but because his opponent is too strong. Coupled with unforeseen events, even the strongest can fall, and once fallen, it is hard to rise again. He is angry but powerless to change the situation. He looks up and meets Ling Bai's gaze, and they stare at each other for a long time. Finally, Wu Yeye sighs deeply and says softly, "Fine, I am willing to obey orders. From now on, I will do my best to complete whatever you command. But I must keep my own consciousness, soul, and freedom of action. No excessive interference." Ling Bai nods, "Good. You misunderstood. We will not control or torture you. Master has a broad mind, cultivates the supreme technique, cares for all living beings, and has no time to torment the defeated. You think you are strong, and Master's taming of you is accidental. But I want to tell you, Master has defeated countless strong opponents you don't even count. See, Master took you in but didn't even bother to look at you, leaving you to me in this almost powerless little spirit. That shows he is confident you won't cause any trouble. You should be grateful for Master's generosity, otherwise, you would have died a miserable death long ago." Hearing this, a complex emotion flashes across Wu Yeye's face: resentment, unwillingness, and an indescribable bitterness. He always thought he was invincible, proud, and arrogant, acting flamboyantly. But when he met Ling Xiao, his confidence was shattered. Someone much younger yet far stronger than him, who had no pride but was calm and composed. Wu Yeye found it hard to accept this gap, but reality would not let him resist. He looked up and found the spatial barrier beside him silently dissipating, and the power that imprisoned him vanished along with it. But he felt a huge stone pressing on his heart, so heavy he could barely breathe. That stone was not a shackle imposed by others, but a demon born in his own heart. After his pride was shattered, he could not admit defeat. That obsession became a heart demon. Cowardice was a shame in his eyes, yet he was powerless to break free. He didn't even dare to imagine how to tell his father about this crushing defeat. Now, what is his situation? Arrogant and conceited, foolishly thinking he could settle everything alone, ignoring his father's advice, recklessly provoking Ling Xiao. The result was a harsh lesson, his chest branded with the mark of a slave, reduced to someone else's pet. This identity was hard for him to accept, and even more intolerable for his father.
He could imagine his father's anger and heartbreak. Would his usually rational father rush out of the cave entrance and fight Ling Xiao to the death?
But he understood that his father was no match for Ling Xiao. Previously, his father had been severely injured by Ling Xiao, and he had long realized the vast difference in their strength. His father only thought that Ling Xiao had some strange technique that allowed him to ambush strong enemies, causing his father to make mistakes and ultimately fail.
Only after truly facing Ling Xiao did he fully understand Ling Xiao's power and unbeatable existence.
He clearly remembered that the battle ended almost before it began. Ling Xiao used just a few spatial barriers to easily imprison him.
The spiritual energy consumption was almost zero.
Then, Ling Xiao used a method he had never seen before, fiercely imprinting a mark that forever locked his soul as a servant. Even he, a sickly disciple, possessed such overwhelming power.
How could such a person appear? Why does such a powerful being exist in this universe yet remain unknown?
There are only two possibilities. 1, they are extremely low-key, living in seclusion to avoid all scrutiny. 2, they have just come from another universe.
Either way, it is alarming.
If they are in hiding, their strength must be great enough to evade countless powerful eyes and occupy a prime location in a bustling city. If they are visitors from another world, it means they possess the ability to sever space, a mysterious power that exists only in legend. These two before him had shattered all his previous understanding, making him truly feel his own insignificance for the first time.
Manipulating his body to return to human form, spiritual energy surged out as the confinement was lifted.
He felt the power but was no longer brimming with confidence. Instead, he reined in his sharpness, his demeanor suddenly calm and steady. The next moment, Ling Xiao saw the little spirit and Wu Yeye appear again.
He glanced at Wu Yeye and saw that he had returned to human form and could coexist peacefully with the little spirit.
Clearly, Ling Bai had resolved the issue, so he no longer worried.
He looked up and asked Wu Yeye, "Now, have you made up your mind?"
Wu Yeye looked up, his expression still stern but much softer. Ling Xiao saw that he had undergone unprecedented growth in just a few hours, his demeanor steady. Before Wu Yeye spoke, he bowed to Ling Xiao and whispered, "Greetings, master." Ling Xiao chuckled lightly, "Good, since that's the case, you are mine from now on. Don't worry, I am always gentle with my subordinates and will not harm you again."
He was very pleased with Wu Yeye's attitude.
Although no treasures or precious techniques were brought, this change in posture was enough to prove loyalty. From now on, he would devote himself wholeheartedly, doing his best to fulfill whatever Ling Xiao needed. Although Ling Xiao did not require such things, he appreciated this obedience and loyalty. Even though Wu Yeye could no longer contribute much to him, Ling Xiao still held high expectations for him. What a precious resource, at least it could eliminate countless troubles for him. Now, his faction had gathered the three great forces of Ling Dao, Shi He, and Wu Yeye. In the future, if anyone dared to cause trouble, the number of times he would need to use violence would likely be greatly reduced. With greatly increased strength, he no longer feared any challenge. But fighting was never the first choice. No one wanted to battle every day. Ling Xiao preferred to cultivate quietly, enjoying the thrill of steadily rising power.
That confidence and sense of security were irreplaceable by any war.
Wu Yeye respectfully asked, "Master, any orders?"
Ling Xiao shook his head, "Nothing. You may leave. Don't come again unless I summon you."
Wu Yeye was stunned. He had thought being subdued meant a heavy responsibility, but unexpectedly, it was just a simple dismissal. He thought to himself, perhaps this was the beginning of freedom. Ling Xiao disliked fuss and handled things personally, rarely summoning others.
Without objection, Wu Yeye immediately responded and turned to leave.
The place was left with only Ling Xiao and the little spirit.
After Wu Yeye left, the little spirit relaxed greatly,
flying several circles around Ling Xiao before diving into his arms and whispering, "Master, when Wu Yeye first arrived, he was so arrogant he scared me and even insulted you.
It made me not want to deal with him at all."
Ling Xiao smiled, stroking the little spirit's head, "Good.
There won't be any more annoying fellows bothering you. I'll find you a more suitable companion. That hot-tempered one is definitely not suitable."
The little spirit wanted to chat more, but Ling Xiao already felt the heavy pressure of cultivation. He was eager to break through the peak and reach the transcendence realm, so he told the little spirit to leave first.
When alone, Ling Xiao opened the attribute interface. Name, Ling Xiao. Repair count, 117. Martial Dao Realm, Immortal Realm, 6th Heaven. Soul Realm, Immortal Realm, 10th Heaven with Dao Rhyme Blessing. Vitality, 8,000 billion Gai 1 point equals 3 quintillion kilograms of force. Soul, 7,000 billion Gai.
Secondary Profession Grandmaster, 10 types 17th rank, mid-grade, 05000 Jing, legendary level. Skill, Weapon Master level 3 Dao, 150,000 times, 01 trillion.
Law, 3,000 Extreme Domain, 480 types. Talent, Undying Divine Body Immortal level, Combat Power 500 times.
Body of the Human Emperor Heavenly Dao level, Strength boost 10 billion times.
Void Dragon Body Immortal level, Physical Enhancement 2048 times.
Power of Creation 17th rank Supreme, 2,999 types.
Cultivation Methods.
Will of the Gods Heavenly Dao level, 17th rank Shattered 50,000 times.
Demon God Nirvana 17th rank lower grade. Frenzied Absorption 17th rank lower grade.
Law of Heaven and Earth 17th rank middle grade, 1,000 times.
Genesis Divine Scripture 18th rank lower grade. Consciousness Fission 17th rank lower grade, 5,000 times.
Introductory Manual for Mental Cultivation 17th rank lower grade, 5,000 times. Beginner Mental Attack Supporting Cultivation Method 17th rank lower grade, 5,000 times. 100 Methods to Forge Mental Attack Devices 17th rank lower grade, 5,000 times. Advanced Array Formation Cultivation 17th rank lower grade, 5,000 times. Material Deceptive Path of Illusory Great Array 17th rank lower grade, 5,000 times.
Martial Skills.
Death Gun Technique 17th rank middle grade, 400 times. Light of World Annihilation 17th rank lower grade, 300x.
Teleportation 17th rank lower grade, 200x.
Heaven Shaking True Spring 17th rank lower grade, 200x.
Demonic Energy and Martial Analysis 17th rank middle grade, 400x. Soul Dance 15th rank lower grade, 300x. Dark Divine Poem 16th rank middle grade, 400x.
Picking Chrysanthemums by the Eastern Fence 15th rank lower grade, 400x.
Falling Flowers early 14th rank lower grade, 300x. Prajnaparamita Sutra 14th rank peak, 500x. Equipment. Black Heaven Battle Armor 17th rank, middle grade. Black Heaven Demon Spear 17th rank middle grade. Angel Wings 17th rank lower grade.
Black Star Stone King Unknown, above 17th rank.
Demon Subduing Wave 16th rank middle grade. Soul Summoning Sail 17th rank lower grade. Heaven Responding Spirit 17th rank peak. Vajra Bracelet 15th rank lower grade. Natural Intent 16th rank upper grade. Martial Soul Chariot 15th rank upper grade. Buddha Light Pearl 17th rank upper grade. Mind Intention Gold Ingot.
Ling Shao's strength was like a god descending from the heavens, his steps gradually advancing toward an invincible realm. Lihua Jade Purifying Bottle Peak 16th rank floated silently, emitting a cold light, like a sharp sword pointing straight at the sky. Liuli Lin Guangchu mid 16th rank was crystal clear, with shifting light and shadow, like dawn piercing through a dense forest. Jade Spirit Gathering Bowl lower 17th rank was emerald green like jade, containing surging spiritual energy, as if storing the essence of heaven and earth. Floating Light Music Theory Brocade mid 15th rank was light as a feather, with ancient melodies hidden in its patterns. Touching it felt like hearing the symphony of heaven and earth. Lansong Jade Bone Fan mid 17th rank when unfolded, the winds sounded like waves, carrying an overwhelming pressure that seized the heart. Lotus Jade Stone upper 17th rank shone like a pearl in a fairyland, radiating a dreamy brilliance. Jade Butterfly Golden Ancient Seal mid 17th rank was steady and heavy, as if testifying to the secrets of endless years. Iron Fur Wood Physical Skill was incredibly tough, forging unmatched power. Neat Floss Dien upper 17th rank could instantly explode when weak, injecting surging power that terrified opponents. Echo Ring upper 17th rank could simulate an oppressive aura 2 realms higher than its user, intimidating all around. Soul Pavilion upper 17th rank was deep and mysterious, as if able to glimpse the secrets deep within souls. Physical Combat Power, Triple Heaven of the Transcendent Immortal Realm. Ultimate Combat Power, Quadruple Heaven of the Transcendent Immortal Realm. Ling Xiao stared at the cultivation data before him, frowning deeply. His cultivation speed was climbing steadily, but his realm had yet to break through, the difficulty of upgrading pressing down like a mountain. Those strong warriors guarding Ling Xiao's door, hoping to be moved to become his disciples, would be shocked speechless if they knew he was now only at the 6th or 7th heaven of the immortal realm. They had always thought Ling Xiao was at least among the top peak immortal realm experts, never expecting such a huge gap.
If he truly accepted them as disciples, they would be too ashamed to face it, unable to defeat even a mid-stage immortal realm cultivator. How could they claim to be strong? But Ling Xiao was different. Every step of his cultivation absorbed the vast spiritual power of heaven and earth, laying a solid foundation. Although his strength did not rise rapidly with his realm, each accumulation made him stronger and more stable. Cross-realm slaying of opponents far beyond his own strength was just an effortless gesture for him. The only cost was slow cultivation progress, but this was not a flaw, rather a power that accumulates deeply before bursting forth. On the surface, it seemed plain and unremarkable, but in reality, his strength was like a mountain. Once he reached the peak of the immortal realm, no one would be able to match him. It even made people wonder if Ling Xiao had drained the energy of the entire universe. Ling Xiao also had worries. Wherever he cultivated, he was cautious, afraid of draining the surrounding spiritual energy, causing desolation and harming the innocent. He deeply understood the preciousness of life and did not want to harm anyone without reason. Cultivation required a large amount of spiritual power. If it could not be drawn from the environment, he had to rely on rare heavenly materials and earthly treasures. But such treasures were scarce, and Ling Xiao had seen only a handful. Many treasures looked shiny on the surface but were complex inside, consuming huge amounts of spiritual power when activated. This power had to be provided either by the user or extracted from the environment. Therefore, Ling Xiao's cultivation encountered a bottleneck. He was not impatient after all. He was young and had powerful support like the system behind him. He believed that when the time truly came, he would be able to resolve all difficulties. Currently, the surrounding spiritual energy was still sufficient to support cultivation, so there was no urgent need. When extraordinary measures were necessary, he would solve it quickly. He already had a plan in his heart, to use the powerful items in his hands, combined with the system's power and his own understanding, to fuse spiritual energy, elemental power, and magic power, creating a divine artifact that could greatly enhance energy supply. Although it was a huge project requiring great effort, Ling Xiao was fearless. He would wait for the right moment and then break through the limits in one stroke. Forget it, no need to rush to act now. Wait for a more suitable time and find a safer place to proceed. Ling Xiao was sitting cross-legged, preparing to cultivate, when suddenly a beam of light appeared before him. Ling Bai stepped out from his small world. Ling Xiao looked up, frowning slightly. "Why did you come out? What do you want from me?" Ling Bai smiled faintly. "Nothing, I suddenly wanted to see my master. It's been a long time since we sat together to cultivate and chat." Ling Xiao did not stop him. Although the small world was safe and suitable for cultivation, it was fine for Ling Bai to come out. He waved his hand, pulling Ling Bai to his side, and sat down together, speaking gently. "If you want to come out, then come out. I might as well take a look at how you've recovered these past few days." Ling Bai's gaze was firm. "I've recovered well, thanks to Master S' help. If it weren't for you, I would have died in that war long ago." Ling Xiao shook his head, saying lightly, "It's what I should do, nothing worth mentioning." He sighed slightly, a trace of guilt flashing in his eyes. "Now is not the best time to awaken Yuhong, otherwise I would have woken her up long ago to see this world again, to see the people she protects." Ling Bai silently agreed. Yes, senior sister loved the people here the most back then. His eyes grew deep, as if lost in memories of the past. At that time, he and Yuhong had just arrived, unfamiliar with the land and facing many difficulties. But with their strong power, they were never bullied. The local leader warmly welcomed them. The leader was gentle, and Yuhong and Ling Bai got along well with the residents. But the world was not peaceful. Decades later, a fierce battle for territory broke out. Neighboring domains rapidly rose, the land became crowded, and they began to expand outward. Their domain became the first target of attack. The war was chaotic and fierce, even the leader died on the battlefield. The responsibility of protection fell on Yuhong and Ling Bai's shoulders. They had lived here for many years, formed deep bonds, accepted the leader's last command, and vowed to protect their homeland to the death. But the overall strength was uneven, unable to match the power of the emerging tribes. Facing many difficulties, Yuhong and Ling Bai relied on their extraordinary combat skills and command to defend the border, holding off the enemy for a whole year. The enemy reluctantly retreated, and they held on to this land. From then on, the two became the new generation of leaders, guiding this place toward prosperity and strength. All was well, until a distress signal from the universe shattered it. They resolutely left the peaceful domain to protect their former people. Ling Xiao thought, such a leader, if in his past life, would surely have been an emperor for all time. He sighed, marveling at how wonderful the world is. Though he disliked the conflicts of the martial world, he had taken in two outstanding disciples in that time and space. Their life paths were completely different. This is fate.
Although Ling Xiao did not travel the same path, he always respected and admired them. If there were more people like this in the world, perhaps there would be a bit more peace. But most people are still selfish, only caring about themselves. He also admitted that he was not a great man. He decided to just take care of himself and no longer hurt anyone. This was his bottom line, with no other thoughts. Even knowing his two disciples were extraordinary, he still could not hide his worries. Bearing such a heavy responsibility would inevitably come at a great cost. Heroes are praised precisely because they shoulder burdens that ordinary people cannot bear. He did his best to help his two disciples improve their strength, teaching them life-saving techniques, fulfilling his duties as a master. These two were already like brothers, while he had not seen his sister for many years, wandering alone, with warmth only coming from newly made friends and family. The two sat quietly, gathering their emotions. Ling Xiao said coldly to Ling Bai, "Don't overthink it, get ready quickly. I will personally lead your training soon." His gaze was firm, no slacking off. Time is tight, the mission urgent. First awaken the senior sister, then improve your strength to ensure you can protect yourselves and others. Ling Bai understood the weight of these words, silently accepted them, quickly composed himself, and prepared to face the upcoming training. Now, their strength had reached an astonishing level, with every step of training containing immense power beyond ordinary imagination. If examined closely, Ling Bai's cultivation was the highest, having experienced countless epochs and reached the peak of immortality. The reason he had not broken through further was not due to lack of strength, but because there was no standard to reference beyond the peak of immortality, and the realm could not be further divided. Although Ling Xiao was only at the 6- or 7-fold immortal realm, he was stronger than most peak experts. Ling Bai could still accept his guidance and steadily improve his strength. The stronger one became, the clearer the world's inequalities appeared. Even if someone's spiritual power accumulation far exceeded Ling Xiao's, he could still comprehensively suppress opponents through his mastery of multiple elements and spiritual power, leaving them powerless to resist, just like that little black snake. Power is diverse, never singular. Ling Xiao brought two fingers together, lightly tapping Ling Bai's chest, injecting vast spiritual power, carefully inspecting his body's recovery to judge if he could withstand the upcoming high-intensity training. If unsuitable, he would adjust the plan. The check showed that years of scars were nearly healed. As a peak immortal expert, and having been strengthened by him before, Ling Bai's body was extraordinarily resilient. After confirming no issues, Ling Xiao confidently began the strength enhancement task, but the more critical factor was the mental state. He again tapped two fingers on Ling Bai's brow, carefully checking his mental recovery. The recovery of spiritual power was more important than the body. The body could gradually repair, but if the spirit was not restored, it would block the path of spiritual cultivation, severely affecting strength improvement and even the possibility of reviving Yuhuang. Ling Bai was currently nourishing Yuhuang's soul with his own. If he could not even nurture his own soul well, how could he nurture and revive another? Ling Xiao was extremely meticulous, thoroughly inspecting every corner of Ling Bai's spiritual world, amazed by his extraordinary talent. His spiritual power had no defects and was even better than expected. With such spiritual aptitude, his future spiritual cultivation was sure to be great. Ling Xiao felt a surge of joy in his heart, confirming that he had chosen the right person. He restrained his smile, concentrated the spiritual energy within his body, transforming it into a pure seed of spirit, and injected it into Ling Bai's mind. Then, using his diverse spiritual energy, he continued to strengthen it. The power of the elements surged wildly, urging his growth, allowing him to rapidly grow strong, soaring into the sky to become a towering tree. This towering tree was not a metaphor but a real incarnation of vigorously growing spiritual fruit tree. In Ling Bai's mind, a tender green seedling quietly took root and sprouted. The young shoot was fresh and vibrant, crystal clear, as if breaking through the boundless spiritual sea, radiating a refreshing vitality. Immediately after, Ling Xiao poured in even more intense spiritual energy to nourish it, determined to help Ling Bai take the first step in spiritual cultivation, urging him on relentlessly without mercy. Ling Bai felt his master's earnestness and immediately mobilized all his mental and spiritual energy to cooperate fully. The sapling grew rapidly, soaring to 5 meters in an instant. Though still slender, it was already several times stronger than when it was first born. Ling Xiao frowned, dissatisfaction flashing in his eyes, but he quickly relaxed. He knew Ling Bai's starting point was different back then. He had absorbed the legacy of ancient spiritual cultivation masters and had long stood at the initial peak, so he couldn't be measured by the same standard. He withdrew his fingers and slowly calmed the fluctuations within his body. Although the previous effort was brief, it consumed a great deal, especially the source of spiritual energy, which far exceeded other energies in potency. Misuse would surely harm the soul. After adjusting his state, Ling Xiao said, I have planted a seed of spiritual energy inside your body and pushed it into the initial germination stage.
The key to the next stage of cultivation depends on your own efforts. But now it's much easier.
Your task is to continuously absorb spiritual energy to help that spiritual fruit tree grow rapidly.
The day the fruit matures will be the moment your senior sister is resurrected and an important milestone for your strength breakthrough. Ling Bai nodded, pondered for a moment, and asked, how can I accelerate the speed of cultivating spiritual energy?
Although he had made progress, he lacked intuitive guidance and felt confused. He knew his limit was far from reached and had to find a shortcut as soon as possible. Ling Xiao calmly said, cultivation methods vary from person to person. My way may not suit you, but it can serve as a reference. When you cultivate, imagine yourself as a river, lake, or sea urgently needing irrigation, with the surrounding spiritual energy flowing continuously like water, converging into a mighty river. Ling Bai was silent, not immediately grasping the meaning.
Ling Xiao understood the metaphor was somewhat abstract.
Everyone's cultivation imagery was different. When he cultivated, it was a whirlpool. Ling Bai's might be dark void or a cascading waterfall. No matter the form, it was just an appearance, with no superiority or inferiority, each had its strengths.
Understanding the task and direction, Ling Bai no longer delayed, returning to his small world to begin exploring on his own.
Ling Xiao nodded approvingly.
Knowledge gained from books always feels shallow. True understanding comes from practice. He continued to observe secretly, ensuring Ling Bai's cultivation was correct.
He decided to personally teach Ling Bai how to cultivate quickly, while acting as the final safety barrier himself, closely monitoring to prevent any major mistakes. On the cultivation path, deviations that seem effective but hide dangers often appear. On the surface, they seem fine and may even bring rapid progress, but they conceal fatal risks. Only those with profound cultivation or extremely sharp judgment can detect them in time. Although Ling Xiao firmly believed Ling Bai possessed such sharpness, as a master, he still felt uneasy and sat nearby, watching closely. He considered it fulfilling his duty as a master.
Unexpectedly, this observation truly bore fruit.
Although he saw no mistakes or chaotic aura threatening safety, he sensed a mysterious aura never seen before, mixed within the spiritual energy Ling Bai absorbed. This aura, no matter how wildly he cultivated himself, or in any cosmic space, he had never encountered before. Ling Xiao was both curious and worried, fearing that this strange energy might disrupt Ling Bai's cultivation or even endanger his safety. After careful investigation, he found that although this spiritual power was wild, it was truly the power of the elements of heaven and earth, extremely beneficial for improving cultivation.
Ling Bai unexpectedly obtained such a marvelous power, even Ling Xiao couldn't help but secretly envy him. Could it be that Ling Bai harbors a special bloodline or physique that he had never noticed?
Although the origin was unclear, as long as it was beneficial, there was no need to worry.
After confirming Ling Bai's safety, Ling Xiao guarded him with peace of mind, not allowing any mishaps to disturb his disciple. Ling Bai also sensed the abnormal aura within his body. The spiritual power surged in like a tide, flowing through his meridians, filling his entire body with strength, his flesh and blood surging, emitting an unusually intense heat energy. Yet this power was just right, neither causing his chi and blood to rebel nor overexciting him, precisely controlled within the limits his body could bear. Cells were activated without being burned, strength increased without damage. It was as if heaven itself was personally protecting him, making Ling Bai's cultivation like a tiger with wings.
Ling Xiao watched in amazement. If he had such assistance, his cultivation would surely be twice as effective with half the effort.
Unfortunately, this power belonged solely to Ling Bai.
He secretly felt fortunate to possess various rare treasures and system cheats. Although envious of Ling Bai, he knew clearly that his own path did not rely on others.
As long as he fully utilized the treasures and cheats in his hands, it was far more practical than vainly envying others.
As his thoughts drifted, Ling Bai's momentum suddenly changed drastically. Obviously, he had used this spiritual power to break through some shackles, or raised his cultivation realm, or made significant progress in his spiritual level. For Ling Xiao, all of this was excellent news, no need to panic. Soon, Ling Bai opened his eyes, his gaze confused, but seeing his master smiling, he felt at ease. He asked, Master, I just felt a mysterious aura, different from the spiritual power I felt before.
Could this be the spiritual power you mentioned?
His brows furrowed tightly, clearly still puzzled. Ling Xiao smiled and shook his head. No, this is not pure spiritual power. It is completely different from anything I have seen. So, naturally, you would feel that this aura doesn't quite match the one you carry. But I have already confirmed, this aura only benefits you, it causes no harm. It is your unique gift, and as long as you use it well, it will surely become a powerful aid.
You must firmly control it.
I have seen countless strong warriors, and their most formidable moves are often unique. They may not be the top in strength, but their unusual techniques make them unpredictable and impossible to counter. This aura of yours, once unleashed, even makes me, your master, feel a twinge of jealousy. Hearing this, Ling Bai finally relaxed and smiled at his master. Since master says so, your disciple will definitely master it seriously and bring it to its fullest. Ling Xiao nodded with satisfaction, then turned to search for something in his small world. After a moment, he stopped and took out a small golden box, handing it to Ling Bai. In the past, master always helped you choose cultivation manuals, but now that you have grown up, you are the one who understands your strength best. This is a treasure I obtained from the Demon Clan's space. It is the core of their library. You can use it to freely consult various manuals in the Demon Clan's library. As for the manuals in the spiritual domain of my small world, you can ask the little spirit directly. He knows more than I do, so ask him anytime if you don't understand something. Don't underestimate him because of his young age and lack of worldly experience. His value far exceeds what you imagine. Feel free to interact with him. Ling Bai responded respectfully, understood, Master's teachings will be deeply remembered. Those with strength deserve respect. Ling Xiao looked Ling Bai over a few more times, seeing his increasingly strong physique, humble attitude, and ever-rising momentum, feeling quietly gratified. He smiled and said, at this rate, it will only be 770 days until your senior sister is resurrected. By then, the few of us, master and disciples, will surely reunite and have a good gathering. Ling Bai also showed a relieved smile, but in both their eyes, besides joy, there was a hint of melancholy. They understood that although they were closest to each other, they would ultimately walk different paths. The day the senior sister is resurrected might also be the moment Ling Xiao departs. But neither mentioned it, only wishing for the peace of this moment to last. As for parting, that would be dealt with when the time comes. Everything is going smoothly now, which is the most perfect ending. Besides, their lifespans are endless, almost immortal, so why fear not meeting again in the future? Since Ling Bai accepted Ling Xiao's guidance and embarked on the path of spiritual cultivation, mastering a unique method, he became even more diligent. Rising early and sleeping late every day, neglecting food and rest to cultivate, the spiritual fruit tree inside him also grew rapidly. The tree has already reached a height of 100 zhang, with large fruits hanging from its branches, but under the canopy, there is only one fruit. Outsiders would surely be surprised to see this, but Ling Xiao and Ling Bai knew full well that the fruit was their senior sister Yu Hong. The spirit tree continued to grow, and when the fruit matured and fell, Yu Hong would awaken and return. Earlier, Ling Xiao had already fused the shattered soul into the spirit fruit tree, which nourished the soul with the spiritual power of heaven and earth and strong mental energy, gradually repairing it. Once the fruit matured, it would become Yu Hong's new body. Although no longer purely human, it still retained a human form and intelligence. The fruit nurtured by this spirit fruit tree was only beneficial to cultivators, without any harm whatsoever. Just like Nezet in the past, who gained a lotus root body and became even stronger, living without hindrance. By then, as long as Ling Xiao, Yu Hong, and Ling Bai kept silent, no one would be able to tell that her body was not human. No matter how her form changed, Ling Xiao and Ling Bai's feelings for her would remain unchanged. She would always be their dearest family. Days gradually grew peaceful, and Ling Xiao once again felt the ordinary life of a common person. Just as Ling Xiao was immersed in cultivation, a sudden disturbance shattered his long-lost tranquility. His divine sense suddenly caught sight of a figure shrouded in black mist silently approaching his residence. The black mist was like thick ink, enveloping the figure entirely and exuding a suffocating sense of oppression. Though the footsteps were slow, they advanced step by step, with Ling Xiao as the target. This was no ordinary passerby. Ling Xiao's sixth sense told him this person was dangerous and mysterious. Although he did not sense a strong power fluctuation, the faint threat made his heart tense. What Ling Xiao feared most was this unknown shadow. Every encounter with an opponent he couldn't see through always hid an unpredictable killing intent. The system alarm sounded, ding. Unknown dangerous energy detected approaching. He was already used to such warnings and sighed inwardly, wondering why he was always drawn into these powerful and strange energy whirlpools. But no matter what, he had to focus fully and face the upcoming challenge. Ling Xiao quickly set up an ambush, controlling the fluctuations to the outskirts far from the residence, protecting himself and ensuring the safety of the surroundings. He concealed his form and stopped just tens of light years away from the black mist figure, but was unexpectedly detected quickly by the other party. He chuckled lightly, a spark of excitement flashing in his eyes. Looks like this opponent has some skill, unlike those useless ones who couldn't even detect me before. With eyes like blazing torches, Ling Xiao stared intently at the slowly approaching black mist figure. He respected every opponent who dared to challenge him. Giving his all was his principle. However, the closer he got, the stranger Ling Xiao felt. This person had no strong aura fluctuations, but rather seemed like a puppet being controlled by something. The lifeless gaze was as if the soul had been hollowed out, utterly devoid of vitality. If it really was a puppet, then the master behind it must be incredibly powerful to easily detect him across space and control the puppet to visit. Suddenly, the black mist abruptly dissipated, revealing a vague figure. That face made Ling Xiao's heart jolt, ashen eyes that seemed to devour all light. His aura was eerily twisted, carrying a sinister chill, like a monster who had practiced forbidden dark arts. According to legend, some people are willing to sell their souls to become immortal ghost demons.
Could the figure before him be the rumored Kiba?
Alertness surged instantly, and Ling Xiao quickly set up an invisible spatial barrier, tightly enclosing himself within.
Normally, he rarely took the initiative in battles between top experts. A single misstep meant certain death. But this time, he decided to break the routine. Strike first, deliver a fatal blow. He gathered all his strength and unleashed a killing move at full power. Even an immortal peak expert would be shocked by this strike, and though they fought desperately to block it, serious injury was inevitable. However, the opponent seemed to disregard this deadly attack, slowly raising his head. His eyes, which had been hidden all along, were now clearly visible, cold as ice, with a mocking smile slowly spreading. In the next moment, the enemy vanished into thin air, and Ling Xiao's attack missed. Cold sweat broke out all over him, not only because of the opponent's astonishing speed but also because of that eerie smile. The smile was like a hellish demon crawling into the mortal world, icy and bloodthirsty, as if it could swallow him whole in one bite. The enemy disappeared from sight, and Ling Xiao could only cautiously scan his surroundings, ready for a deadly ambush at any moment. Suddenly, the spatial barrier he had set up on his left side took a heavy blow. The barrier had just been established, its movement slight and almost silent. Logically, the opponent shouldn't have noticed it, let alone attacked it directly. But in reality, the barrier trembled from the strike. Though it didn't injure him, it exposed his defense.
Caught off guard the first time, Ling Xiao was alert the second time. He quickly adjusted the surrounding spatial barriers, his gaze sharp as he scanned, but found no trace. Then, a deeper internal barrier was struck heavily. The enemy had infiltrated the core of his defense. Ling Xiao's heart raced as he immediately set up 2 more barriers to block the attack. Such speed, such stealth, such barrier-breaking power, it was terrifying. Perhaps the enemy didn't rely on special skills but was naturally adept at phantom stealth, moving like a ghost, invisible.
Creatures like Kiba never carried a shred of goodwill.
Ling Xiao's heart tightened. The next strike would surely hit, no matter how many barriers he set up. The opponent had uncovered his spatial secret. Breaking through one or several barriers was almost the same.
Only a swift and decisive battle could end it.
A chill swept down his back.
Without hesitation, Ling Xiao suddenly slammed out a palm strike.
The palm wind hit empty air. The enemy screamed and vanished again. Without years of combat experience, his body would have been pierced long ago.
But he knew this kind of defense was no long-term solution. He had to find the enemy's true form and kill him in one blow to end this endless series of sneak attacks. The enemy appeared and disappeared at will, but he couldn't rely on instinct forever to block attacks. Ling Xiao activated his spiritual power and divine perception, sweeping the surroundings like a hawk, leaving no inch of space unchecked. The enemy's concealment was so exquisite it surpassed all others. Ling Xiao scanned repeatedly, but even natural fluctuations showed no abnormalities. Another thought flashed through his mind: had the enemy used the power of the laws of heaven and earth?
Otherwise, no matter how strong the concealment, it would be difficult to perfectly mimic the natural rhythm. If so, there must be the support of the world's heavenly way behind it. This was no coincidence. Since the war began, the heavenly way had frequently pressured him from the calamity clouds to the beast tribe chef, and now this black mist, each step tightening the noose, escalating relentlessly. But at this moment, Ling Xiao's main concern was not the enemy's origin but how to drive him away or kill him completely. A sudden inspiration struck him: perhaps he could turn the tables. Since the enemy relied on the laws of heaven and earth to hide, he only needed to change his perspective and capture the natural fluctuations carrying the heavenly way's aura in reverse. The heavenly way had a unique rhythm, which Ling Xiao had sensed during his early cultivation.
Once tainted, it could never be erased.
Even when he had tried to control someone before, the aura of the way remained during spellcasting and could not be concealed. 770, let alone the person before him, who was personally dispatched by the world's heavenly way, of extraordinary status, with an unfathomable connection to the heavenly way. The residual aura was even stronger, completely exposed.
Ling Xiao followed this clue and indeed detected an anomaly.
Those Tao resonances clung to the surrounding objects, the bamboo fence carried the fresh scent of plants, the house exuded a sense of human presence. But without exception, there was a strange aura of Tao righteousness. Ling Xiao was unsure if this was the mark of the world's heavenly Tao. He understood that there was nothing around that could merge with these Tao resonances. These were clearly foreign forces. He still had doubts. Why, if only one person appeared, were there so many Tao resonances left behind? Suddenly, his thoughts opened up. Who said there was only one person? Perhaps only one appeared to him, but in reality, more figures were hidden around. He had originally thought the opponent could teleport instantly and attack from different angles, but in fact, it was a multiple ambush. This explained why the first attack landed outside his first spatial barrier, while the next struck inside the second barrier. They were simply in different positions, some far, some near. Few in the world could silently penetrate his spatial barrier, but they didn't need to break through. They only had to make Ling Xiao mistakenly believe the barrier was breached, luring him to relax his defense, withdraw or not activate new barriers, thus achieving their goal. Ling Xiao sighed inwardly. The world's heavenly Tao understood him more deeply than ever, even able to use such tricks, far surpassing the past calamity clouds and that powerless, easily seen through Cook. Since he had grasped the principle, the solution was simple. He quickly set up spatial barriers around himself, this time shrinking the range to the smallest possible, only enveloping his own body. Then he adjusted the barrier's properties. Attacks from outside to inside were transferred to another space, while attacks from inside to outside were allowed as usual. A one-way barrier was formed. The enemy could not penetrate, but he could freely counterattack. This move perfectly suited the current need. As for other flashy techniques, he skipped them all. As long as the enemy was locked down and unable to move, Ling Xiao didn't need to know where they were hiding. The next moment, a fierce attack erupted from Ling Xiao's body, blasting out from every corner in all directions like a violent storm, leaving none untouched. If a bystander were here, they would surely be shocked by his explosive power and energy accumulation. He sensed his energy precisely covering every corner, his attacks striking the hidden enemy energy. As the obstacles dissipated, the enemy was completely defeated, turning into nothingness. The world once again returned to calm and softness. Ling Xiao opened his eyes again, carefully searching for the remaining traces of the Tao resonance. This time, he had already swept it clean. Only faint traces remained in the air, proving the enemy had long since vanished without a trace. In this world, apart from Ling Xiao, no one dares to challenge the world's heavenly Tao, lacking both the courage and the ability. Every attack from the world's heavenly Tao is intimidating. At first, they used a combination of violence and mental suppression, such as the calamity clouds. According to Ling Xiao's knowledge, whether in this world or the old realm, natural forces command reverence from all beings, especially the power of thunder. Just like in the world he once belonged to, there were intimidating phrases like heaven's strike of thunder and rolling thunder. But when he easily broke through this move, the enemy quickly changed tactics. They sent mysterious powerful figures to pressure and intimidate Ling Xiao within the limits of the world's rules. Finding it still ineffective, Ling Xiao fled his original universe, hiding in another universe, focusing on cultivation and preparing to counterattack. The enemy also pursued closely. The situation suddenly tense, and the storm rose again. The moves kept changing, and Ling Xiao even suspected that he had been targeted by the world's heavenly Tao, as experts kept being sent to stir up trouble for him. But facing all this, he could only fight back and could not counterattack. Whenever the world turned upside down to challenge him, he could only respond passively, feeling extremely frustrated. He had never suffered such a great loss in his life. However, he understood that this was precisely his special proof. Those who could attract the world's heavenly Tao's repeated attention were few, yet he continuously pushed the world's boundaries. He guessed that the world's heavenly Tao was not completely free but was some kind of postnatal consciousness, formed by merging with the primordial heavenly Tao of heaven and earth. Perhaps, as he had speculated before, a great power had, through unique spiritual cultivation, merged their consciousness into the world, creating this force. He did not understand why the world's heavenly Tao was so hostile toward him. Did it think everyone desired to become the master of heaven and earth? He was very clear about his own mindset. He just wanted to be an ordinary person, with no need to become a vague and elusive existence. If one day he lost his physical body and became nothingness, wouldn't that be equivalent to death? Moreover, the world's heavenly Tao was still bound by rules. Even if it resented him, it could only use intimidation and leverage to restrict him. Bound by countless restraints, how could it compare to the free will possessed by humans? Therefore, Ling Xiao never yearned to become the ruler of the world. What he pursued was complete transcendence, free from the shackles of any power. If he could converse with the world's heavenly Tao, he would surely be honest and straightforward, but he guessed the other side wouldn't believe him. He had seen too many stubborn people who assumed that what they liked was liked by everyone, crazily grabbing and hoarding everything like a spoiled child wanting to hold everything tightly and protect it fiercely. Ling Xiao felt helpless but was grateful that there were intervals between challenges, otherwise, he would find it hard to endure. Those troubles that stirred up waves were nothing serious. Life went on as usual, and he can only bear with it. This was also a good sign, indicating that the path he was on was not wrong and that there was hope for true transcendence, free from the control of the world's heavenly Tao. Since that was the case, no matter how rough the road ahead, he would forge ahead through the waves. Returning to the courtyard, the surrounding barriers made it incredibly quiet here. Outsiders found it difficult to discover this residence, and even the original owner would be stunned for a few seconds, unable to find any trace of the house. The protection was so tight that not even a fly could get in. But those inside could come and go freely. Even if the little spirit wanted to fly out to play, it could leave at will. However, once outside, it would be covered by Ling Xiao's spiritual awareness, not as surveillance, but to prevent helplessness in case of danger. Ling Xiao thought he had been busy lately with resurrection and spiritual power-related cultivation, and it had been a long time since he exercised his physical body. To prevent his spiritual power from rising too fast and leaving his body behind, he devised a plan to train his body every few days. Since the plan was set, it had to be executed immediately. After confirming the surroundings were safe, he found a spacious area. This time, he intended to improve the previous physical training method. Although the method was indeed tailor-made for him at the time, this set of techniques was originally customized for him, best suited to his physique. However, after this period of diligent cultivation and accumulating practical combat experience, subtle changes had quietly taken place within him. Outsiders could hardly notice, but Ling Xiao was well aware. He firmly grasped every slight improvement because only in this way could he unleash his greatest strength in the shortest time. The recent battles had brought him brand new insights. The essence of various techniques and the use of power were being reshaped in his mind. He decided to integrate these understandings into his fist techniques, embedding practical combat skills into his muscle memory. From now on, no matter where he was or how distracted he might be, Ling Xiao could precisely and flawlessly execute every move and form, achieving the highest combat efficiency. He quickly entered a state, repeatedly replaying combat techniques in his mind, simulating the enemy's moves, adjusting his responses, leaving no detail overlooked. Improving strength ultimately comes down to observing oneself and the environment, discovering weaknesses, and formulating targeted strategies. When you see through the enemy's flaws and understand your own shortcomings, victory is already within reach. What remains is just adjusting offense and defense and steadily advancing. This feeling was like knowing the exam questions in advance. Although there was no standard answer, the score was no longer a problem. After confirming the details of his fist techniques, Ling Xiao resumed cultivation. This time, he turned off system prompts and focused on refining himself. 2 hours passed, and he still did not stop. Suddenly, a little spirit flew over from a corner, anxiously shouting, "Master, come quickly. Ling Bai says there's important news." Ling Xiao wiped the sweat from his forehead, frowning slightly. If things were urgent to this extent, it must be serious. He turned and entered the small world. Just as he entered, Ling Bai was standing there, his face serious yet with an unmistakable joy, clearly bearing good news. Ling Xiao asked in confusion, "This little world is empty, what good news could there be?" Ling Bai smiled and said, "Master, I've been observing the spirit fruit tree these past few days and found that the fruit has started to react. It's almost ripe. Come and see." A gleam appeared in Ling Xiao's eyes. The fruit on the tree meant Yuhong was about to awaken excellent news. He quickly walked over to Ling Bai, lightly tapping his forehead with 2 fingers, and activated his spiritual sense to investigate. The spirit fruit tree was lush and towering 300 zhang tall. The large humanoid fruit had turned from green to gold, its color ripe, occasionally trembling slightly as if announcing its impending awakening. A smile appeared on his face. Success was right before him. He looked up and said to Ling Bai, "The fruit is ripe but hasn't fallen yet, which means it's just one step away. I will create that opportunity." Ling Bai nodded, "That's exactly why we called you here. I feel that senior sister is like a flower asleep, needing someone familiar to gently awaken her. Otherwise, the sleep could last unpredictably long, delaying her cultivation." Ling Xiao smiled broadly, "Judging by the current situation, once senior sister wakes, her talent will be exceptional, and her cultivation will advance rapidly. With you protecting her, I can rest assured." Ling Bai's expression darkened, as if sensing something, and he quietly asked, "Master, are you really going to leave immediately? Won't you stay a few more days, spend more time with senior sister, talk to her more?" Ling Xiao shook his head firmly, "I've stayed here long enough. In fact, I should have left long ago. I no longer want to stay here. I can't find a reason to remain, Ling Xiao said resolutely.
Moreover, we are critical variables, bringing too many unexpected risks.
If one day I fail to fully block these risks, it might inadvertently harm you all, which I absolutely do not want.
Yu Hong's situation has stabilized. Now is the time for me to leave.
Ling Bai heard the determination in his master's words and was speechless. He understood that Ling Xiao's decision was unshakable. No one in the world could stand in his way, not even them.
Silence froze between the two, eventually broken by Ling Xiao. Since the time is ripe, let us begin immediately.
Let your senior sister wake soon and regain her strength, so she can better handle the uncertainties outside. Ling Bai nodded, and the two focused all their attention on the spirit fruit. Ling Xiao concentrated his spiritual awareness, enveloping the newly sprouted spirit fruit, meticulously examining every trace of anomaly and potential risk. This time, there could be no mistakes. After confirming everything was correct and the timing perfect, he immediately unleashed his full spiritual power, filling the surrounding space. This ensured that when Yu Hong awoke, he could absorb ample spiritual energy at once, preventing weakness caused by spiritual depletion. Next, he mobilized his own spiritual power as a backup, ready to respond to any sudden situation. He then activated destructive and death forces, condensing abundant and pure life elements. The mobilization of such powerful energy explained why almost no one but Ling Xiao could complete a resurrection. The required power was immense and dangerous, something ordinary people simply could not endure, let alone attempt. Yu Hong truly had a fate full of hardships, yet was incredibly fortunate. He nearly perished but met his master, rewriting his destiny in moments of crisis. Ling Xiao came to his aid now. Though his soul was shattered and he should have died, he was reborn thanks to Ling Xiao's power.
Yu Hong had not yet awakened and could not perceive any of this.
But Ling Bai clearly saw it, his heart swelling with endless gratitude toward Ling Xiao, emotions surging like waves, hard to suppress. Deep guilt rose within him toward himself and Yu Hong. They had such a powerful master but had failed to become qualified disciples, instead remaining separated for so long, never giving their master the support he deserved. He silently watched Ling Xiao's back, thinking the master was unaware, but Ling Xiao suddenly spoke, "Focus and concentrate, this moment is crucial, no distractions allowed. Ling Bai, put away your tears and emotions immediately." Indeed, now was not the time for sentimentality. They had more important tasks, and Ling Xiao had never relied on others, which only showed his strength. Resurrecting Yu Hong consumed enormous spiritual power. Ling Xiao had Ling Bai focus on cultivating spiritual power precisely for this reason. Only with sufficient strength could they continuously support the sleeping Yu Hong. At this moment, Ling Xiao could also assist nearby, guarding against any sudden changes. He furrowed his brows tightly, his spirit intensely focused on the branch of the spirit fruit, his gaze sharp as a hawk's, closely monitoring every slight change, afraid to miss any anomaly. So far, everything was going smoothly. The spiritual energy grew increasingly concentrated. Ling Bai's steady accumulation of spiritual power combined with Ling Xiao's innate spiritual cultivation formed an unbreakable front. They both knew well they were more than halfway successful. The outcome depended entirely on the critical moments ahead. 10 minutes passed quietly, the fluctuations in spiritual energy growing even stronger. Suddenly, Ling Xiao sensed a subtle change in the spirit fruit. It no longer resembled a black hole, ravenously devouring the surrounding spiritual power and energy. Instead, absorption ceased, and the entire fruit emitted a unique fragrance. Matured. Ling Xiao's heart stirred. The fruit had already gained the ability to awaken independently. He withdrew his hands, and Ling Bai also put everything down. The two fixed their sharp gazes on the spirit fruit tree before them, waiting for the moment Yu Hong would be reborn. Suddenly, within the small space enveloped by Ling Xiao's spiritual power, the colors of heaven and earth abruptly changed. A glow like brocade spread across the sky, soft and warm, stirring the soul. This was the blossoming of pure energy, a radiance Ling Xiao had never seen before. He realized this calamity was not entirely a trial for Yu Hong but had instead brought an unexpected gift. The glow of the rosy clouds grew stronger, shifting from gentle to dazzling. Ling Xiao frequently rubbed his eyes, afraid of being scorched by the light. At the center of the glow, a figure gradually emerged. The outline of the figure became clearer and clearer, and the glow weakened accordingly. Ling Xiao and Ling Bai understood in their hearts the ritual had succeeded. The unfamiliar figure before them was Yu Hong's new body. The figure gradually became distinct, with limbs clearly visible and facial features taking shape. The initially unfamiliar face began to distort, slowly returning to the familiar appearance of Yu Hong. The two stood silently a few meters away, eyes fixed without blinking. That face was slowly returning to the one they knew, stirring both excitement and anxiety in their hearts. They waited for Yu Huang to open her eyes, but as the glow faded, they found no sign of awakening. Her body suddenly lost support and fell straight to the ground. Fortunately, the two nearby reacted quickly, catching her in time to prevent the fall. Ling Xiao was full of doubts. The resurrection process had gone incredibly smoothly, so why hadn't Yu Huang awakened? Had they only summoned back an empty shell? Where had the soul gone? This situation was hard for Ling Xiao and Ling Bai to accept. Ling Xiao quickly pressed his fingers together and pointed at Yu Huang's brow, intending to probe her internal condition. However, as soon as his finger touched, it was repelled by a powerful force. It was as if an invisible barrier inside her body refused his intrusion. This reaction shocked Ling Xiao. He wanted to continue probing but dared not force his way in, fearing harm to the newly revived soul. Helpless, he could only temporarily let go, frustrated by his inability to understand the current truth. The little spirit nearby sensed the urgency, circling Ling Xiao 3 times, anxiously pondering whether it had ever encountered a similar situation or had any related records. It searched for a long time but found no clues. Ling Xiao looked at the little spirit, seeing it was at a loss, and couldn't help but shake his head with a sigh. He then summoned the time element within him, freezing Yu Huang's body at this moment. Although the situation was unclear, it was obviously unwise to delay. The longer it dragged on, the greater the danger. Using the time element to seal her was the best temporary measure to preserve life and buy time for a solution. In the past, when facing problems in the spiritual realm or even when the body was parasitized, the little spirit could provide valuable information. Now, even it was at a loss, showing how extremely difficult the situation was. This indicated that such a case was extraordinarily rare. After all, since ancient times, few have had the ability to resurrect others, let alone someone like Yu Huang who had reached the pinnacle of immortality. Relying on experience and ability, Ling Xiao had already achieved astonishing feats. But he still felt it was not enough. This failure stemmed from insufficient preparation, which had led Yu Huang into an unknown crisis. He blamed himself in his heart, and Ling Bai beside him easily saw through his thoughts. What? He patted Ling Xiao's shoulder and said, Master, this isn't your fault. The situation was too sudden. Although senior sister hasn't woken up yet, she is recovering quickly and should be fine. As long as we figure out the cause and effect, we'll definitely solve this. Ling Xiao nodded but furrowed his brows tightly, still sitting and lost in thought. Such information was extremely hard to find. He tentatively summoned the system and the virtual universe, hoping they could detect abnormalities within Yu Huang's body. Unfortunately, both the system and the virtual universe said they had never encountered such a case and couldn't help. The situation reached a deadlock. Ling Xiao stared at the little spirit daydreaming in the air and decided to start with it. The little spirit was the most professional in this kind of mental domain. Although it had never seen a similar situation, its power was indispensable. Ling Xiao said to the little spirit, keep gathering information and observe Yu Huang's condition. Ling Bai and I will look for solutions. We must be quick. As soon as he finished speaking, the three acted swiftly. They were all top-tier experts, with speed and efficiency far beyond ordinary people. Ling Xiao and Ling Bai searched through the Demon Clan's library and the mental energy tomes brought by the little spirit, finally finding a clue. Yu Huang's condition stemmed from mental trauma. The soul was repaired but left with cracks, severely limiting soul activity, causing her to remain unconscious and reject all external mental energy. Forcing intervention would instead damage her body. Although Ling Xiao and Ling Bai possessed strong mental power, this was not the key Yu Huang lacked. Simply infusing spiritual energy would be useless. Ling Bai frowned and said, logically, only Yu Huang herself can repair it. But she is completely unconscious. How can we bear to watch her suffer helplessly? At that moment, the little spirit that had just been sent out hurried back and said, Master, I have a method. It's untested but worth trying. Ling Xiao's eyes lit up as he asked anxiously, what method? The little spirit replied, using your mental energy combined with an ancient secret technique passed down by a great power, weave an illusion. You and Yu Huang can enter the illusion together, see her soul, and take the opportunity to help repair it. Ling Xiao nodded in approval but saw the little spirit's hesitant expression and asked, any other concerns? The little spirit said, this method sounds feasible, but no one has truly tried it. Even during the peak of ancient mental power, no one dared to use it. There are 2 reasons. First, it requires extremely strong power support. Second, the risk is high. If the environment goes wrong, both could be trapped in the illusion forever, never escaping. Almost no one is willing to take this risk. Ling Xiao was silent for 2 seconds, then said firmly, is that all? I'm not afraid. With enough strength, what is the risk? Yu Huang is my disciple.
It's only right to take the risk for her.
Ling Bai seemed relieved and turned to Ling Xiao, saying, Master, you should rest first.
Let me handle this.
I've been with senior sister longer, and our souls are more fused. Besides, she was previously. This was restored using my mental energy, with very high affinity to me, so there won't be rejection.
It's clearly the best choice.
His tone was confident and well-reasoned, but Ling Xiao still firmly refused him. Ling Xiao turned to Ling Bai and said calmly, You're right that he rejects you less, but you're not the best choice. Your mental energy accumulation is too weak and can't compare to mine. His gaze was sharp. If something unexpected happens, your ability to respond is far inferior to mine.
As for your senior sister's affinity, it's actually unimportant this time. From what we saw earlier,
he is compatible with our mental domain and at least one reject it. Ling Bai wanted to argue, but Ling Xiao interrupted, Enough. No matter what you say, my decision won't change. Ling Bai could only keep silent, his eyes still full of doubt.
Ling Xiao looked at him and smiled, You underestimate your master too much. Don't think this little problem can stump him. Do you know how many hardships I went through in mental cultivation before reviving you all here?
His tone was full of confidence. Without your help, I'm still alive and well, with no risk, and my strength is actually rising rapidly. These words slightly boosted Ling Bai's confidence, and he no longer argued about the choice. Since the selection of the person was decided and the treatment direction was clear, the two no longer delayed. No one knew what changes might occur in between. The sooner it was resolved, the better. Ling Xiao released the time seal on Yu Hong's body, and her body slowly returned to the normal flow of time. He then cautiously sketched out an illusion array around them.
This formation was taught by the little spirit just now.
He reviewed it several times, quickly got the hang of it, and gradually grasped the underlying principles. Although it was his first time operating it and his movements were somewhat awkward, he was meticulous, ensuring every detail was flawless. Gradually, he and Yu Hong's bodies emitted a soft glow, with mysterious power surging. The little spirit and Ling Bai nearby understood that the master had succeeded and would soon enter the illusionary realm together with Yu Hong. They didn't know what kind of world Ling Xiao had constructed, but they knew it had to be an extremely beneficial and safe formation for Yu Hong, capable of awakening her latent power. Even Ling Xiao himself was uncertain about the appearance of the illusion. At this moment, he was only stirring Yu Hong's deepest memories but could not predict how those memories would unfold.
Would Yu Hong be her original self? Or someone else? He had no way of knowing.
But that didn't matter. He firmly believed he could solve everything and let Yu Hong freely imagine. His soul slowly detached from his body, floating lightly into the sky, entering a dazzling pure white world. The scene suddenly changed, revealing a dilapidated village. Ling Xiao looked up, feeling familiar but unable to recall the exact location. Several children in front of him were furiously beating a frail little girl, and he immediately recognized it, the scene of the first time he met Yu Hong. At that time, Yu Hong was emaciated, pale, and even struggled to stand, yet stubbornly bit at those who bullied her with her teeth. It was this resilience that made Ling Xiao feel she was extraordinary. Seeing this old memory again, he realized they had known each other for many years. With a gentle gaze, Ling Xiao hurried forward to block the children. Even if he hadn't known Yu Hong back then, he would never have stood by idly, let alone now that she was his disciple. Not even in a dream would he allow her to get hurt. However, he had only taken 2 steps when he felt something was wrong. In the memory, even though Yu Hong was suppressed, her eyes were fierce but never dimmed. The girl before him still looked like the Yu Hong of old, but lacked that clarity. If the past Yu Hong was somewhat wild, then this one was like a beast that had lost all reason. Ling Xiao didn't know where to start. His intuition told him something was amiss, but he couldn't pinpoint the problem. But no matter what, he hadn't given up and was determined to continue. First, save Yu Hong, no hesitation. Ling Xiao swept his palm to clear the boys surrounding them, and in an instant, they vanished into thin air. The eerie atmosphere in the air grew even stronger, and Ling Xiao frowned deeply. He had set up illusion arrays before and considered himself experienced, so how could he have seen such a chaotic illusion? Previous arrays still followed the laws of reality, but this one was completely overturned. Those boys could disappear silently and without a trace. This also reflected that Yu Hong's thoughts were extremely chaotic, and the illusion was difficult to maintain normal operation. Ling Xiao's heart tightened, eager to approach, but was firmly stared at by the little girl on the ground. Those eyes were full of warning, extremely fierce, as if ready to tear apart anyone who came close at any moment. Ling Xiao calmly stopped, sensing Yu Hong's strong resistance. If he approached rashly, it might trigger even worse consequences. He stepped back 2 paces, raising both hands to show he was harmless.
Yu Hong's expression slightly softened but still remained hostile.
Ling Xiao was helpless and could only keep his distance, quietly watching. This mad Yu Hong was like a rabid dog, with reason severely lacking. Ling Xiao knew that to awaken him, he had to restore his reason first.
But how exactly could this situation be broken? Time passed slowly.
Finally, Yu Hong slightly lowered his head, seeming tired.
Ling Xiao seized the moment and quickly approached.
The little girl suddenly became alert and fiercely bit Ling Xiao's outstretched arm. Ling Xiao instinctively fought back but held back, letting her bite down.
With one bite, alarm bells rang loudly in Ling Xiao's heart.
He quickly struck out with a palm, dispersing the curled-up figure into smoke. He cursed himself for being careless, rushing forward without confirming the other's identity.
The bite mark concealed a nightmare aura. Obviously, this was not Yu Hong but a disguise of an evil dark energy.
Ling Xiao checked his arm. Although the wound was shallow, it reminded him not to underestimate the enemy.
If ambushed by a peak expert, the consequences would be unimaginable.
Calming down, Ling Xiao looked around again, his vigilance sharply heightened. He repeatedly reminded himself, this place was far from simple as imagined. Ling Xiao couldn't help but suspect whether Yu Hong hid secrets deep in his heart.
Did that usually gentle smile conceal another face? But he quickly dismissed such suspicion.
As a master, he should trust his disciple based on what he saw, not on guesses. After clearing his thoughts, he released his divine sense to search for Yu Hong's trace. The spiritual sense swept across the empty world and finally found her in a corner. Yu Hong was still in the form of a child, thin as firewood, pale-faced, curled up, and looking at the empty street full of fear. Seeing this scene, Ling Xiao's heart was torn like a knife, and he hurried forward. After approaching, he carefully checked himself for battle marks to avoid frightening the fragile Yu Hong. Then, he began to clean himself up, preparing to comfort her. Ling Xiao slowly approached with a smiling face. Unexpectedly, Yu Hong showed no fear but instead affectionately came closer, softly calling, "Master." Ling Xiao was stunned for a moment and immediately understood. Yu Hong at least retained some memory and knew he